Good morning from sunny and warm Nathan Benderson Park in Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida. This is semifinals day of our 2021 U.S. Rowing Youth National Regatta, and we will have about 3.5 hours this morning of very consequential semifinal races. Yesterday was time trials day. Today is semifinals day of our regatta, and I am David Wyant. I'm joined by my colleague Colleen Seville, and we will get ready to go here. I already have the adrenaline pumping, Colleen, getting ready for these semifinals, knowing just how consequential they are with the progression all morning that we're going to see. The top three finishers in each of these semifinals will go to the A finals on Sunday to compete for a national championship in each of these boat classes.
Yeah, David, good morning. There's so much on the line with the semifinals. Of course, there's always so much on the line, right? But if you kind of imagine the pre-boat meeting before you launch, with your crew and your coach before you race, that conversation's a little bit different when it's a time trial versus a semifinal. So you can imagine the time trial is all about going out and sort of being internal in your boat and putting out the best time. But with the semifinals, there really is a requirement, isn't there, to both do that but also have an eye as to who's around you. Because as you mentioned, David, the progression is pretty unforgiving.
So welcome to everybody watching at home, maybe watching your teammates or your family members race today. We're going to try to bring it to you and keep you as informed as possible as to what you're seeing on the screen. And yesterday was time trials, as we discussed, which means that each of the entries for every single boat class went down the race course here at Nathan Benderson Park one time. And based upon their finishing time down the 1900 meters that they rode, they either moved on to these semifinals this morning, the two AB semifinals, or they moved straight into the C or D finals for our Youth National Regatta. And so this morning, as you start to see the first boats pull in, our first race is going to be the men's youth single. We're going to see, and we're going to give you some knowledge as to how they sort of, these boats finished and qualified. But the progression, again, top three are going to move through to the grand final from each one of these races that we watched this morning. And just looking out at the race course, maybe a slight tailwind, very flat water here at Nathan Benderson Park. And it should really shape up for some awesome racing this morning.
Yeah, and of course, on the minds of these young athletes this morning as they prepare for semifinals A and B, is that these are the athletes that are still in a position to come home with some hardware, right? Some medals. There'll be award ceremonies to come this weekend for all of the events. The ceremonies for the U17 events will happen on Saturday. And trophies will be awarded for the first place finishers of the A finals. So just so incredibly exciting, and of course nerve-wracking as we've been saying, to sort of an equal measure. But the athletes that we'll see race this morning are still podium potential. So something that you don't necessarily want to think about too early in the progression. It's one race at a time. I mean, it's truly one stroke at a time, right? But something to sort of have in the back of their mind, I'm sure.
So let's talk about the year 2 years that these athletes have had. We didn't have this regatta last year. Obviously, the elephant in the room is what we've all gone through. And most of these athletes really haven't had a whole lot of racing under their belts this year. A lot of the regional championships didn't even happen. And so we're looking at a lot of boats and races this morning that are going to be some of the first races for a lot of these athletes that they've even had all year, yet it's the end of the year. This is the end of the year regatta. This is a culmination of all the work that they've put in over the last 2 years. So there's kind of is maybe even some added adrenaline pumping through these athletes. As you see the lineup here, we'll go through it for this first semifinal of the day. It's a men's youth single. Why don't you set it up, Colleen?
Yeah, so the men's youth single, semifinal A, you see the graphic on your screen. Out of lane 1, it's Alexander Jovanovic Hakon from Utah. In lane 2, Matthew Lexa. In lane 3, Andrew Furlow from the Gainesville area. Lane 4, Matthew Weiler from Redwood Scullers. Lane 5, Patrick Riley from Westside. and lane 6, Samuel Dowd, Red Dog. And I think, David, one of the things that I love about youth nationals and youth rowing is just the depth of rowing, right? There's so many youth teams across the United States. There's such talent truly across so many of these programs. And as rowing gains, becomes increasingly popular, we continue to see new teams emerge. So lots and lots of teams here this weekend.
And from all over the country. You're going to see a lot of races where you're going to have an entry or a boat in the 6-boat semifinals this morning from basically every region of the country. And that's what makes it also extremely exciting, is that most of the time when you line up at Youth Nationals in a semifinal, you're going to be racing against boats you've never seen before. You really don't know a whole lot about unless you're really doing your homework. And especially with this year not having a lot of results to look at, it's kind of wide open. So let's talk about the start. This is maybe one of the first times or only times this morning, given how quickly all the races are going to go off every 7 minutes, that we're going to see the start. So you see the 6 boats. They are being held by a human stake boat holder that you can see there on the left side of the screen or on the sterns of the boats. And they get lined up exactly down the line. There's an aligner that tower on our wave attenuator here at Nathan Benderson Park, and there's an official that makes sure that every single bow is exactly horizontally in line with one another at the start line, so nobody has an advantage or disadvantage. And then once they're lined up, the aligner or the starter will start pulling the crews when the event time comes. And after the crews are pulled, which basically just means they're called out by name, then there will be a start sequence and we'll be on our 2,000 meter race course. So again, the progression here, 6 boats, 3 will move straight through to that coveted A final. Boats 4 through 6 will move to the B final to contest places 7 through 12 in the nation.
And just taking a look quickly at times from yesterday, again, these were time trials. Matthew Weiler, he is out of lane 4, so typically the fastest athletes will be placed in the center of the lanes. That's assuming no wind conditions. He posted a sub-7 time of 6:51. Everyone else was just above 7 or a little bit above 7, so we'll keep an eye on him, David. Quick off the line.
And he's in the red boat is Matthew Weiler of Redwood Scullers. And as you said, Colleen, he was 9 seconds faster than anyone else in the time trial. The time trial was slightly different. It's a situation where you row into the start as opposed to going from a dead stop to as fast as possible. And they row only 1,900 meters. So essentially the boats start rowing through, and when they get to the 1,900 meter mark or the 100 meter mark in the race course, that's when the clock starts for them. And then they go all the way down the race course in lanes 3 and 4. That's how the time trial worked yesterday. We're seeing a really good start here out of lane 6. That's Samuel Dowd of Red Dog, who's decided he wants to kind of put a charge into the field and get the lead early.
Yeah, what a start for him. That's exactly right. We can see a beautiful shot of Samuel Dowd from Red Dog, currently leading the field by about 3/4 of a length. As we said, though, Matthew Weiler, someone to keep an eye on out of lane 4 in that red shell. And not letting him get very far away is Andrew Furlow on the other side of him. So those are our top 3 leaders. And as we know, it is 3 to advance to that A final. So top 3 is the position that you want to be in. And there are all kinds of strategies, David, when you think about this type of a race, right? Do you go early? Do you hold back and wait and see where you are? What do you think these athletes are thinking right now about that?
Well, without question, I think it's great that you point that out, because we have 3 boats right now that have pushed away from the other 3. You're seeing a beautiful picture as they come through 500. It's the Gainesville rower, Andrew Furlow, in lane 3, slightly ahead of your top qualifier. Matthew Weiler of Redwood Scullers in the picture as they come through 500. But Samuel Dowd is still out in front. You can see him on the right side of the screen in that red unisuit black boat. He's got almost a length on the other 2. But you can see open water back to the other 3 boats in the race. So you're right. It's not only does strategy come into play in terms of whether you sort of want to get out in front and play defense, but it also may come into play, especially in some of these smaller boats, with respect to what they do in the final 500 of this race. If the gaps, swell and these 3 boats are really out in front of the other 3, we may not see a full finish out of each of these single scullers. But realistically, at this level, given the fact that they will have a day off before they race in the grand final, I would suspect we're going to see, everything that these scullers have. But in the singles, we always see all kinds of different moves and different strategies, especially because you can really change the boat speed in a single if you want to. And right now, you're starting to see those two boats in the center, the two that qualified 1 and 4 from the time trial, Matthew Willer of Redwood Scullers, Andrew Furlow of Gainesville area, are pulling away from the rest of the field. And now getting into the mix is Matthew Lexa from Lower Merion.
Yeah, a really nice start for Samuel Dowd, but we'll see if he can hold that pace. It looks like, his strategy was really to get off the line, to stay up ahead and to hold on. Of course, you pay for that in the body of the race when you do have those really quick starts. So we'll see if he's able to take the pace. But that's exactly right, David. Matthew Lexa from Lower Merion just making a real push as we move through the 1,000, while Matthew Weiler continues to open up his lead. Samuel Dowd just starting to fall off the pace.
So it's actually shaping up, Colleen, kind of 3 match races going on. We have the two that are connected up front, Furlow and Willer. You've got Dowd and Lexa that are connected, and Riley and Jovanovic Hakone of Utah that are kind of connected. And sometimes that can really pace these athletes. If they realize that they're connected with another boat, they may start pushing each other, and potentially these gaps will close. But Matthew Willer is starting to assert himself in that red boat out front. Really great drone shot here. Watching him row about 35 strokes a minute out in front. He's got about a length advantage now on Andrew Furlow. And so that 9-second time trial win is starting to show up in the body of this race in the middle 1,000 as they're in the third 500. And then it is starting to space out. Looks like third place at the moment is Matthew Lexa of Lower Merion High School in the Philadelphia area. And then you see your early starter, Samuel Dowd, is now very close with the boat adjacent to him in lane 5, Patrick Riley of Westside, rowing out of Buffalo. But a good picture there of your leader, Matthew Willer.
Yeah, really nice, mature racing from Matthew Willer. Just getting the work done in the body. He wasn't first off the line. That probably wasn't part of his race strategy. He knew that he had a really nice time from the time trial relative to these other athletes, and that the work that he needed to get done was in the body of the race. That's exactly what he's done. And again, just a mature race plan, because it means that while, yes, you're being reactive to those around you because you have to, as we mentioned earlier, you're really focused on the work that you need to do and following your own race plan. That's really been working for him then as he comes just through the final quarter of the race and towards us where we're sitting in the finish tower. They're closing in on the final 250 meters to go. Matthew Willer, now at this point, with such a lead, he'll of course want to hold on to it. But I wonder if we'll see a sprint, David, from him, or if he'll hold back on that, knowing he just needs to qualify.
We'll see. He's certainly in the driver's seat. He's playing defense as Matthew Willer. Coming at him on the screen there, you see in second place is Andrew Furlow of Gainesville Area Rowing, who's very familiar with this race course, being that he's a Florida rower. Gainesville program is relatively small, so it's great to see a single sculler come out of that program. And it looks like he's going to put himself in the A final here at our Youth National Regatta for 2021. Going with them is Matthew Lexa of Lower Merion High School in lane 2. And in fact, maybe the fastest mover currently on the race course might be Matthew Lexa, who's on the far left side of your screen. But you can see it's pretty spaced out as they come through the sign. Last 250, they're into the red buoys. As you see on your screen, the buoys have changed from yellow to red. When you see that, you'll know that these athletes throughout the morning are in the last 250 of the race course. But out in front, it's Matthew Willer ahead of Andrew Furlow and Matthew Lexa.
So these three then putting themselves in a position again to advance to the A final, which will determine ultimately positions 1 through 6 out of the entire field for the men's youth single. So Matthew Willer, again, a great time in the time trial. He's got to be feeling pretty good as he comes through these final 20 strokes. If you see him, we can see him taking a long, measured, powerful stroke. He didn't jack up the stroke rating. He just didn't need to. Andrew Furlow then coming through the line to take second in the semifinal, moving his way then into the grand final, the A final, along with Matthew Lexa through the line.
And then it's going to be Patrick Riley of Westside finishing in 4th. Samuel Dowd of Red Dog right in front of us in lane 6 will finish in 5th. and Alexander Jovanovic Hakon of Utah will finish in 6th. The 4th through 6th place gentlemen will move to our B final to contest places 7 through 12 in the nation. So that was the first race of the day. Semifinal A of the men's youth single. We're going to have another semifinal of the men's youth single so that we can set our A final for Sunday. And we've got some firepower in this next one that's already on the race course. So let me run through it for you. In lane 1, we have Devin Godfrey of Woodlands. In lane 2, Tristan Atreides of Oak Neck Academy. In lane 3, Isaiah Harrison, who's rowing unaffiliated. Lane 4, Tristan Wakefield of Y Quad Cities. Lane 5, Philip Seeger of Holy Spirit. And in lane 6, Thomas Spellmans of Halifax.
And a nice shot then as they move through the first stretch of the race. It's Isaiah Harrison out of lane 3. No surprise, David, I think, to see him as one of our early leaders. He is such a powerhouse on the erg and translating that power into the single. But he'll have to keep an eye because he's got out of lane 4, Tristan Wakefield, who posted a nice time in the time trial. In fact, the fastest of this bunch at 7 minutes, right on his tail.
Yeah, so Isaiah Harrison, as Colleen mentioned, he holds the under-17 world record for 2,000 meters on the ergometer machine, 5:53, incredibly fast time that he set, I think, at the ergometer world championships. And he's sitting there in lane 3 at 1,000 meters with about a half a length on Tristan Wakefield of Y Quad Cities in the adjacent lane 4. And as you saw them all come through, this one's a little bit closer, but you've got three connected boats up front. Really, anybody with Philip Seeger in lane 5 from Holy Spirit in that gold and blue boat, you can see he's connected with the other two up front. So this could really be anyone's race. And then what I'm looking at, Colleen, is whether lanes 1 and 2, Devin Godfrey and Tristan Atreides, can push each other. You can see them on the screen there. Can they push each other into maybe a qualifying third place position? But you're seeing up front, it's a battle. Whoever's in the water is in the lead between Tristan Wakefield and Isaiah Harrison in lanes 3 and 4.
Yeah, that's exactly right, though. So yes, we have our two leaders, as we mentioned, but we also saw Tristan Atreides pushing himself in there as well, with Devin Godfrey just behind us, or behind. So you can sort of have these battles happening in the back of the field that then suddenly that speed, that competition brings them to creep up on the leaders of the field. So again, all kinds of strategies and sort of considerations, especially in the single, when it's just you, it's just your boat and your race strategy. But that's exactly right. We'll want to keep an eye on those two lanes, that lane 1, Devin Godfrey, Tristan Atreides as well, to see what kind of push they can make. Our two leaders, though, as we know, Isaiah Harrison, Tristan Wakefield. I think one interesting thing, David, is beyond outside of Isaiah and Tristan, these time trial times, especially between Tristan Atreides out of lane 2 and Philip Seeger out of lane 5, are really, really similar. So what that says is it'll be a race for third. It should be pretty close.
Yeah, I think it's gonna get closer, Colleen. We're already starting to see that. You can see the signs at the top of the screen. That's 500 meters to go. So this is it. This is a semifinal at our Youth National Regatta for 2021. You got to be top 3 to move through and have a chance to win a medal or to win a national championship. So what are we going to see in the last 500 meters? This one a little bit closer than our previous semifinal in terms of really everybody's still in the mix. You're starting to see those boats in lanes 1 and 2 find some speed. They're starting to push. You still see Philip Seeger of Holy Spirit in lane 5 really holding on to an overlap. Here they come. Isaiah Harrison maybe needs to take up the stroke rating. He's starting to get caught a little bit speed-wise by Philip Seeger. And not in the screen, I do want to call out Thomas Spellmans from Halifax is still in the mix. So the last 250 are really going to decide this thing. It looks like Tristan Wakefield has moved out to a half a length advantage on Isaiah Harrison. Isaiah Harrison maybe with a couple of feet on Philip Seeger. And then up in lane 1, starting to really find speed, is Devin Godfrey of Woodlands.
It's getting tight as we move through these last 250 meters. Tristan Wakefield, just a nice job, picking up the stroke rate a bit, just moving a little bit quicker. Isaiah Harrison, as you mentioned, David, rowing it a little bit longer, a little bit lower, getting it done with power. Tristan, though, keeping his bow just ever so slightly ahead, but Philip Seeger doing everything he can out of lane 5. That's the boat on the bottom of your screen to put himself in that third place position. But watch out on the far side, keeping an eye on Devin Godfrey, David.
Oh boy, this is coming down to it. We got 4 connected boats. One of them's going to be left out of the A final. As they come and they really start winding it up, Tristan Wakefield maybe finding more speed than everyone else. Here it's Philip Seeger, who has passed Isaiah Harrison. He's sitting in second place. As they come to the line, unofficially, it's going to be Tristan Wakefield of Y Quad Cities ahead of second place, Philip Seeger from Holy Spirit. Third place, Isaiah Harrison. Fourth place, Devin Godfrey. Fifth place, Tristan Atreides, and then just in front of us in the blue boat, Thomas Spellmans from Halifax will finish unofficially in 6th place. So the 3 that will move through unofficially is Tristan Wakefield of Y Quad Cities, Philip Seeger of Holy Spirit, and Isaiah Harrison rowing unaffiliated out of lane 3. What a finish.
Wow.
And I suspect we're going to see a lot of finishes like this morning, Colleen, and I'm excited for it. That was Semifinal B of the men's youth single, and we'll go back up to the top where we will pick up the women's youth singles.
Yeah, fabulous racing. And again, really interesting to see, as always, what shakes out from, in the semifinal versus what we saw on paper in the time trials yesterday. It's really anybody's race, but it gives you a sense of their relative speed and what they might have up their sleeve, especially in the middle of the race. For now, though, we're back up at the start, awaiting the start now of the women's youth single. So switching over to our women's events, women's youth single, semifinal A, same progression. We see the field then on the graphic in the top right. It's Paige Lowe out of lane 1, Navesink River. Out of lane 2, it's Sue Holderness out of Charlotte Youth. In lane 3, Eva Harris from here in Sarasota, local. Lane 4, Ann Herring from Hockaday. Lane 5, Catherine Berry, Oak Neck Academy. And lane 6, Hannah Peters from Nobles.
And so they are on the race course, Colleen. Let's talk about this. It's a women's youth single. Again, 2 semifinals, same progression, 6 boats across. You see, there's our shot of what's going on in the race. They're in the second 500. That's a shot of lane 4, Ann Herring from the Hockaday School in Dallas, Texas. She won the time trial by a second. So that shows, and we saw this, if you looked at the results from the time trials, that most of these 12 boats that are moving through in each of these boat classes were separated really by not a whole lot of time. 1 second to win the time trial is almost nothing, but coming through 1,000, you're seeing that Ann Herring has about 4 boat lengths of open water on second place, Eva Harris of Sarasota. And then look at that, Colleen, as they come through, 4 boats connected. And again, it's top 3. So you have 2 that are out in front, and then you have 4 boats connected for that coveted third place spot.
Oh, it makes the whole race just so exciting to watch. But a lovely shot then of Ann Herring from Hockaday. Just a lot of power, right? You look at her stroke, a lot of control, good length, and just sheer power, sheer fitness through the middle of that stroke. And then the camera kind of comes back. So she's got a nice lead. Then it's Eva Harris, local Sarasota, Florida, who went 7:44 in the time trials. So second fastest time of this bunch. And then, yes, there's quite the battle of all of these connected boats in the back. And it's a race for third. It's 3 to qualify. So, yes, while our leaders are out ahead, the real race happening right here.
Look at this. Sometimes semifinals are even more exciting, quite frankly, than the finals end up being. Look at this at 12:50. 4 boats separated by about 3 total feet. This is as good as it gets here at our 2021 Youth National Regatta. This is semifinal 1 of the women's youth single. And those 4 boats are Paige Lowe of Navesink River, all the way at the top of your screen. It's Sue Holderness, 1 boat below her on the screen of Charlotte Youth. Then closer in lane 5, it's Catherine Berry of Oak Neck Academy in Bayville, New York, and Hannah Peters of Nobles in lane 6. Hannah Peters maybe has the slight edge right now on Sue Holderness of Charlotte Youth for that third place spot. But here we go. They're coming into the last 500. This is where we're going to see who's going to move through to an A final amongst these 4 boats. They're all still connected. Again, this is as good as it possibly gets, and this is only our 3rd race of the morning. We're going to have about 3.5 hours of this morning. But out in front, it continues to be Ann Herring of Hockaday. Second place continues to be Eva Harris of Sarasota Crew. And then on your screen, 500 meters to go for these 4 boats.
Hannah Peters making a push to put herself into that 3rd place position. You know, somebody has to finish 4th, right? Somebody will just be left out of that grand final, of the A final. And Hannah Peters doing everything she can right now out of lane 6 to make sure that she's not in that position. This is a nice shot, though, from our drone, an overhead shot. Ann Herring making her way down the course. Eva Harris out of lane 3 against Sarasota. And then the race for 3rd, you know, on just behind them. Keeping an eye then as they move into the very final stretch, just about to cross into the final 250 meters. 3rd place is up for grabs. Starting to spread out, though, in this last stretch a bit more.
So the 2 boats you're seeing on the screen, that boat with the red top decks, that is Sue Holderness of Charlotte Youth Rowing. I do think, Colleen, that she is sitting in the 3rd place position. It's either her or Hannah Peters of Nobles, and it's a little hard to say. They're probably connected. It does appear that in the last 250, it's going to be one of those 2 boats that's going to move through to the A final as Eva Harris starts to show a finish here, actually, in that Sarasota Crew single in lane 3. She's starting to close a gap out front on Ann Herring that was tremendous. If you remember at about halfway, it was like 4 boat lengths of open water. It's almost an overlap now as Eva Harris really pours on a finish and trying to go with Eva Harris. Again, these 2 boats is going to come right down to it. And I'm going to let you call this one, Colleen, as they come. It's going to be Sue Holderness or Hannah Peters for that 3rd place spot.
Oh, you're cruel. We'll keep an eye on it for sure. No doubt Ann Herring out in front. Followed by Eva Harris. Ann Herring with a bit of an answer to Eva's push. But as we keep an eye on 3rd, again, that coveted 3rd place position, Hannah Peters has taken up the stroke rate, doing everything she can. It looks like it will be Hannah Peters to cross the line first unofficially. A job well done from both of those athletes. Then Sue Holderness. Then over to lane 5, that's Catherine Berry coming through the line. And on the far side, Paige Lowe of Navesink River in her final few strokes. An incredibly exciting race. We'll have times up in just a moment. But Ann Herring, a good solid job from her. But yeah, David, I'd say Eva pushing herself at the end there.
For sure. Look at the times. Yeah, and I was looking at the stroke ratings. I mean, Eva put on a finish. Ann Herring did not put on a finish in terms of lifting her strike rate. As we see the 2nd semifinal come onto the screen, they're coming through 500 meters. And out in front, it looked like it was Ella Berry of Oak Neck Academy, who was your top qualifier here in this semifinal that's on the race course. So you see her out in front, and the picture right now is showing lane 6 is Mina Bayer of Los Gatos, who's sitting in 2nd place currently, just ahead of Alexandria Lang of California Yacht Club in lane 5. Now the other boats that are in the race, lane 1 is Allison Gator Johnson of Maritime. Lane 2 is Julia Veith of White Marsh, and in lane 3 from GMS is Claire Paremba. So we'll see how this one shapes up as they come down the race course, but deciding to take the lead early, to put herself out in front, and to try to play defense is Ella Berry of Oak Neck Academy, and you can see she's got almost a length of open water as she comes through 750.
Yeah, just a nice lead for her. Now, on paper, Ella Berry with the fastest time, but Claire Paremba out of lane 3, just a couple of seconds behind her, so we'll keep an eye as well. Right now, though, it is lane 6 with a nice push. That's Mina Bayer from Los Gatos. Of course, Los Gatos, just a wonderful youth program with a lot of history, so perhaps not surprising. Beautiful overhead look, still fairly early in the race, so we'll see if we get a bit tighter. But Ella Berry's race plan clearly was to get out ahead early and to hold on to that position. Of course, in a single, David, the advantage is that you can see the field, right, and make sure that your competitors are not advancing on you.
So in the single, you're self-motivated, and as you said, Colleen, you're looking back. If you're out in the driver's seat like this, like we're seeing from Ella Berry right now, she can see all of the other athletes. That's also an advantage in these singles of being in one of the center lanes, because you can sort of, through your peripheral vision, see where the other athletes are that are in your semifinal coming through 1,000. You can see it's a little more than a length of open water, and it's very close right now between Alexandria Lang of California Yacht Club and Mina Bear of Los Gatos. And then again, Claire Poremba of GMS is in fourth place, and she was the third best time in the time trial. So we'll see, maybe the third 500 is really where Claire Poremba starts to show her speed on the field. But we'll see as they come down. And the other thing really to point out is that a time trial is so much different than side-by-side racing. And some people are very good at self-motivating in a time trial. Others are better at side-by-side racing, and they really find their speed when they're being pushed from the boats in a side-by-side situation like this. But I think you are starting to see Claire Poremba get into the mix. So we may have another 3 or 4 boat race for some of these spots in the grand final, but out in front continues to be Ella Berry of Oak Neck Academy.
And you just see Claire Poremba looking over her left shoulder, David, here and there to see exactly where lanes 5 and 6 are. That's Alexandria Lang and Mina Bear. So yes, we'll keep an eye on her in the body of the race, but wow, look at the advantage currently of our leader here, and just a nice look at the field. So Ella Berry, Oak Neck Academy, a lot of power here. And again, we'll see what the strategies are for these athletes, for our leaders. No real reason to sprint, right? If you're in a top 3 position. The margins have stayed consistent here between lanes 5 and 6, David. Alexandria Lang and Mina Bear.
Mina Bear is really showing that early start that she had is sustainable, because she's staying in second place and has all the way down the track. So as they come into the last 500, is that quick start from Mina Bear going to catch up with her? I'm not so sure. It looks like she still is very much finding her speed, continuing it, and she continues to maintain that same distance ahead of Alexandria Lang of California Yacht Club. Keep an eye on lane 3, Claire Poremba of GMS. Is Claire going to find a big last 500? It does look like, given how far out in front Ella Berry is, she may not have to raise her strike rate, and we might see her just sort of cruise and try to not make any mistakes, as we have a new second place, it looks like, with Alexandria Lang just slightly maybe getting ahead of Mina Bear. But you can see there's open water back to fourth place Claire Poremba. So these athletes that we're talking about in Alexandria Lang and Mina Bear are in a good position to move through. As they start seeing those red buoys, they just have to make sure that they keep their focus, don't make any mistakes, and don't let Claire Poremba up there in lane 3 catch them.
It is all about making sure that they don't let Claire Poremba catch them. You can start to see Mina Bear falling a little, pretty consistent. I was going to say a little bit off the pace, to her credit. She's holding her own right in that position. I think it's really Alexandria Lang found another gear and kind of took off over the last 20, 30 strokes. But the reality is that Mina Bear will have to keep an eye out for Claire Poremba out of lane 3. As we said earlier, Claire Poremba posted a nice time in the time trial, so we know that she has that speed. Mina Bear has just done a great job coming off the line quick, holding on to that pace. But of course, there's less than 250 to go. In fact, very much into the final 200 meters of this race, and anything can happen.
Claire Poremba, I have her stroke rating relatively low, but now as I look out, I can see that she took it up right there when the red buoys, when the buoys changed from yellow to red. But out in front, it continues to be Ella Berry of Oak Neck Academy. Does appear she's going to win this semifinal. Second place continues to be Alexandria Lang of California Yacht Club in lane 5. And here comes Claire Poremba. Is she going to get past the boat from Los Gatos in Mina Bear? I think she might, as we have Ella Berry crossing the finish line and taking first place unofficially in our second semifinal. And then it's going to be California Yacht Club and a photo finish. Photo finish between Mina Bear from Los Gatos, Claire Poremba of GMS. Looks like fifth place is going to be Julia Veith of White Marsh, who's going to finish about a half a length ahead of Allison Gator Johnson of Maritime. First photo finish for a spot in the grand final. Somebody's going to be very disappointed, although, again, with not a lot of racing, and this is the highest level, to make a B final at our Youth National Regatta is nothing to be upset about. But when it comes down to maybe a couple of feet, and we'll figure out what happened there, it is going to be fairly upsetting for whoever didn't move through.
We'll move back up then to our next race and into the pair. So this is the men's youth pair semifinal A. So these boats will move a little bit quicker than the singles, of course. And it's for those maybe who don't know rowing as well and are tuning in to watch a friend or family member. The pairs, as you can see, right, just one oar. So each person has one oar. Rather than a single where they're sculling with two oars. And what that means from a rowing perspective, from a technique perspective, is that this is a challenging boat to row. Like, credit to these youth athletes who have figured out the pair. It's a difficult boat to row because you have to really match up just perfectly with your pair partner. I think one of the things that is just so interesting about this boat is oftentimes you'll see siblings, you'll see twins on collegiate programs rowing the pair, right, because they're of similar size. Looking though at the field, just a nice look then, that's lane 5, and it looks like lane 4 out of Canisius is our leader.
Yeah, it's Canisius out front from Buffalo, and you can see they've got a little bit of open water due our top qualifier through the time trial yesterday. They won the time trial by about 3 seconds. So not a surprise, and what you're going to see this morning in every single one of these semifinals is that the boats that are in lane 4 are your top qualifier coming in. The boats in lane 3 are either finished either 3rd or 4th in the time trial. So those boats in the center are seated that way, and we're seeing Canisius really show just beautiful rowing in that pair. As Colleen was saying, it's a very difficult boat to even keep straight down a race course. You have to find two athletes that can really match each other in terms of power through the water and also what they're doing with their oar back and forth as they row. Canisius doing it well, and a great battle going on, and really this is starting to shape up yet again, for a great race down to the line for who's going to move through to the A final. Right now it looks to me like the boat from St. Joe's Prep and the boat from Concord here in this semifinal A of the men's youth pair are basically deadlocked. You saw them there in those two white boats. The one at the top in lane 3 is St. Joe's Prep. The one closer to us is St. Joe's Prep. The one in lane 3 is Concord. And then it's a big push. Artemis, I think, from lane 2 from Oakland, California, in that black boat is starting to kind of push into the mix. So it's going to come down to it yet again. There's no rest for the weary here. Races every 7 minutes. They're all semifinals. All of these boats really not separated by a whole lot of speed in that time trial. And we're seeing it, Canisius out front.
Canisius, just such power. You can see it here with the layback that they have, the swing that they have. That's Talty and Sass in that shell, the Canisius shell. Clearwater then back to the rest of the field. It's bow number 5. Coming up just behind them, that's St. Joseph's Prep. And St. Joseph on one side of them and then Concord on the other side of them. As we've been saying, same progression this morning, 3 to advance. It'll take a lot of work, I think, for Artemis to come up, David, at this point.
I think you're right, Colleen. They're going to have to close about 2 lengths in order to get into a third place spot. And now really starting to see some speed from Concord. Garside and Lound from Concord have pushed maybe into second place ahead of the boat from St. Joe's Prep. But those are your 3 right now that look to be the ones that are probably going to move through. Again, these pairs races can be some of the most exciting races on the race course. Remember back to 2017 Worlds, the men's pair was the most exciting race we had the entire regatta. And Canisius just clinical. I mean, just looks beautiful right in front of us. They are going to win this semifinal, and it's going to be ahead of probably a photo finish here between Concord and St. Joe's Prep. And so those are your top 3 in some order because, again, it is a photo finish for second and third. And then it looks like Artemis is going to finish in 4th place just ahead of the other boat from Canisius in lane 6, who will finish ahead of Camp Randall in that order. We'll see the times come through. Everything's unofficial, but really a dominant start to finish win there for Canisius.
And these are the races, David, of course, all of these races, not just the pair, but I imagine the collegiate coaches are keeping an eye on the pair, right? If you can row a pair well, you are a natural fit into the 8s. So again, just a great boat and a job well done, especially to Canisius here.
Look at that, 0.2 seconds separating those two. So it really was a photo finish between Concord and St. Joe's Prep. So that was semifinal A of the men's youth pair. And on the race course is going to be semifinal B of the men's youth pair. It looks like we're actually going to see this one all the way down. Colleen, let's give you the lineup. Furthest,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Furthest from the camera, lane 1.
Lane 1, furthest from the camera, it's Harrington and Grossman from Brookline. Then lane 2, Goodworth and Fuchs from Chicago. In lane 3, Barrett Moriarty from Camp Randall. Lane 4, Spallone and Orem from Rowe, New Jersey. Lane 5, Quinn, Moran, Row America Rye, and a great program, big program. And then lane 6, Leonard and Judge from Triangle.
And so some of these boats, we'll talk about sort of what you're seeing. Sometimes in these pairs, you're seeing maybe the 9th and 10th rowers from a program, a big program. Occasionally, if they're putting out an 8, I know St. Joe's Prep, which we'll see later on, I think they won the time trial yesterday in the men's youth 8. So they have so much depth that they just had a boat in this men's pair qualify for the A final. But again, it's top 3, and really in the pair and in these smaller boats, in my opinion, the race plan of getting out ahead early, especially at the youth level, can sometimes really be important. But you never know. Like we said, these boats change. The smaller the boat, the more you can affect boat speed by taking moves or jacking up the rating towards the end of the race. But you got a good picture here as they come through 250 of this entire field. Trying to take an early lead is that boat in lane 3 from Camp Randall, Madison, Wisconsin. And going with them are the 2 adjacent boats closer to the camera. It's Rowe, New Jersey, and Rowe America Rye. So those 3, you can tell, are pushed out a little bit. 4th place is the boat in lane 2 from Chicago. And then you got a bright blue boat of Brookline, which is always helpful up there in lane 1. And then Triangle, closest to us, is in the, what do they call it, the Research Triangle in North Carolina. Oh. It's a Raleigh-Durham area. And so they're a Southeast crew that has probably been on this race course in past years. But those are your 6 boats. And still out in the lead by about a half a length is that boat from Camp Randall in lane 3.
Oh, and I just love Camp Randall. I have such heart for them. As you mentioned, David, they are out of Madison, Wisconsin. So sort of hanging with the Wisco collegiate teams, so to speak, I think, rowing out of that boathouse. But just a lot of scrappy, hardworking kids. I mean, across all of the programs for sure. But Camp Randall is a fun one. And typically, not sure about a COVID year, although they're looking great. But in non-COVID years, for sure, just so many athletes come, to row at Camp Randall, at that program. A lot of depth and a lot of a fun summer place to be. But Camp Randall will have to keep an eye right now, right? Because lanes 2 and 4 on either side of them are on the charge, and not to be left out, it's lane 5, Row America Rye.
So we are seeing some momentum. It looked to me like right at that 500-meter sign, the gentleman from Chicago, the men from Chicago started to put on a little push there and found some more speed as they come through 750. It's only a couple feet now for Camp Randall over Chicago. And then, as you pointed out, Rowe, New Jersey is right there as well. A good shot of Triangle. As they came through 500, I was looking at the times. It was only like 3 seconds separating all 6 boats. And so this is actually one of the closer fields we've had to this point so far this morning. This is semifinal B of the men's youth pair. And a difficult boat to make go to speed, to keep straight, etc. A lot of times teams will use the pair earlier on in the season to try to get the athletes to understand what it takes to move a boat properly and to row properly, because it's such an unforgiving boat. But in those teal jerseys, it continues to be Camp Randall out in front. As they come through 1,000, we'll see exactly where they sit in relation to the rest of the field. You saw it's maybe a 3-foot lead right now for Camp Randall over Rowe, New Jersey. And then Rowe, New Jersey appears to be just slightly ahead of Chicago. But again, as the times come through, it's going to be pretty similar to 500 meters. It's going to be, it looks like maybe 4 seconds, 5 seconds separating all 6 boats.
So close, like incredibly exciting racing, and credit to Camp Randall. They've managed to keep themselves about a bow deck advantage or so over Rowe, New Jersey. But Rowe, New Jersey really making a push. Then out of lane 2, the athletes from Chicago, that's Goodworth and Fuchs, pushing themselves here as well. These are our 3 leaders It's 3 to advance. It is lane 3, Camp Randall holding that bow deck, and the margins have been very consistent. Row New Jersey making a bit of a push here out of lane 4. We can start to see their bow just push into lane 3. David, Camp Randall needs to look out. Here comes Row New Jersey. At this point, these are our 3 leaders, but you've pride on the line, right? If you're that close, how can you not put your bow ahead?
This cannot be comfortable for any of these 5 boats. Let's be clear about it. There's 750 meters left. Camp Randall has had the lead the whole way, and they continue to have it, but you can see just how close it is. What an amazing picture that we have for you here of the lead for Camp Randall. You see that bow card, it says F4. That's your second place boat. That's the boat from Row, New Jersey in lane 4. You see the bow card F2 up there. That is the boat from Chicago. And then not in the screen, but really in this race is the boat in lane 5 as well, the boat from Row America Rye. And the boat from Triangle was in the mix when we saw the full picture. Look at this. Everybody's there. Even Triangle has a connection, it looks like to me, on the boats from Row America Rye and Chicago. 3 places. So 3 of these boats are going to be left out. They're going to go to the B final. But Camp Randall trying to hang on as they come through 500 meters to go. This is where it's going to get really interesting. This one's going to come right down to the line. And who's going to find that speed in the last 500? Nobody is going to be able to not put on a finish here, Colleen.
You know, Row New Jersey keeps making a push into Camp Randall, but Camp Randall keeps answering. So credit to Row New Jersey. You can kind of just see their bow start to surge. Camp Randall, though, answering. We can see them out of lane 3 just starting to maybe break away. But credit, I think, to Row New Jersey as well, because they've managed to put themselves in a position, keep creeping in. These are our 3 leaders. We're now starting to run out of time as they come into the final 250 meters. Out of lane 5, lane 6, a little bit off the pace, but lane 5 doing everything they can to push themselves in it as well. But Camp Randall breaking away.
Row America Rye is trying to catch Chicago. It's now very close between those 2, and that's for the coveted 3rd place spot. So, as we said, and we're looking down, we're watching the spectators, we're watching teammates, we're watching parents and siblings cheer on these athletes as they come. It's Camp Randall. They're trying to go start to finish. They have basically played defense on every single move that has happened, and everybody is winding it up. Here we go. Can Row America Rye on the outside get past Chicago up there in lane 2? It's going to come right down to it. I do think Row America Rye has gotten past Chicago. Triangle is still in the mix. It's really down to the last 10 strokes here for Camp Randall, last 15 for everyone else, and who's going to move through. What a race we have right down to the line.
Oh, Camp Randall, such grit. You can see them. They are now just about 3/4 of a length advantage over Chicago on one side of them, and then Row New Jersey out of lane 4. A great effort from those 3 teams, Camp Randall, Row New Jersey, and Chicago. Those 3 unofficially will advance to the A final, and good racing all around. Again, the pair is not an easy boat to row.
You're going to see just how close it was between Row New Jersey and what was it?
And Chicago.
I mean, it was probably like we're gonna see a 0.1 or a 0.2 there.
Another photo.
Unbelievable finish. The only boat that kind of fell off the pace there towards the end was Row America Rye, and they were kind of losing course as well. And that's what happens sometimes in these pairs. As we go back up, excuse me, for semifinal A of the women's youth pair, and we can see them on the race course. I'll set the field for you. Lane 1, furthest on the right of your screen currently, is the boat from OKC River Sport. Lane 2 is Triangle. Lane 3 is Greenwich. Lane 4 is Connecticut Boat Club. Lane 5 is Camp Randall. And in lane 6 is also Camp Randall. But your leaders early here is lane 4, your top qualifier. They won the time trial by 2 seconds. It's Galloway and Greco from Connecticut Boat Club.
And a really nice shot of them coming down the course. As we mentioned, you know, we've said a few times, right, that these boats are challenging to row, but you're sort of seeing evidence of that right now out of lane 2 from Triangle. Lanes 1 and 2 had a little bit of a not collision, but sort of overlap there, because these boats are also very hard to steer. So the idea of matching up your power through the water, it means that any small variance can take you off the course. They're tricky to steer. So credit to these youth athletes, frankly, for being able to master that. But of course, these are the best in the nation, so we'd expect that. Coming through the first half of the race, and a nice shot here and that's lane 4 out of Connecticut. That's Galloway and Greco out of Connecticut with the nice black and green unisuits.
Yeah, they help us out with those bright colors, and they you can see that they have just sort of dominated the field. To 750 has Connecticut Boat Club. Good picture now of the race that's shaping up behind them. You see all in the screen and all connected. You see lane 3 Greenwich, lane 5 Camp Randall, and lane 6 Camp Randall. So you've got teammates, and you would suspect that these pairs absolutely line up next to each other probably every single day at Camp Randall in lanes 5 and 6. They probably know each other's relative speeds. I would like to think that either the coaches are giving them different race plans or they're coming up with their own, and they're going to try to sort of surprise each other in the second half of this race and try to figure out who can get into the top 3. In second place and starting to move through into a really solid second place is the boat from Greenwich in lane 3. But you can see that shot. You can see just how far in front right now Connecticut Boat Club is. The women from Connecticut Boat Club annually do extremely well at this regatta, and they're showing it again here in the women's pair.
Yeah, just a nice line too, right? Talking about steering that really nice straight line down the course. This is a look at one of the Camp Randall boats, though, lane 5. A nice push from them puts them at about a half-length advantage over the other Camp Randall boat out of lane 6. But as you can see on your screen, that was moving through the 1,000, the boat from Greenwich, Connecticut, Fenaroli, and Moore, with the rest of the field then crossing over into the second half.
So we have 2 boats from the state of Connecticut out in front of this first semifinal of the women's youth pair. As they came through, you saw that the lead for Connecticut Boat Club is about 4, maybe 4 boat lengths of open water. It's a pretty tremendous lead over Greenwich. And then Greenwich was connected with the Camp Randall boat in lane 5. So you've got 2 boats from Connecticut, followed by 2 boats that are teammates from Madison, Wisconsin, as the boat in lane 5, the better qualifier through the time trial Camp Randall boat, is starting to move a little bit away from their teammates in lane 6. But then not to forget lanes 2 and 1, Triangle in lane 2, who had, I think, an early crab there that lost them their course. But oftentimes that really shoots adrenaline into the athletes, Colleen, and sometimes they really get it up to a speed maybe they didn't even know they could get to after a bobble like that happens. So we'll see if Triangle can use that to get back into it, as well as the boat from OKC River Sport in that bright orange shell up in lane 1. So that's your field as they come through. This is the race going on for second and third as they come through 1250.
1250 down, 750 to go. So approaching the last quarter of the race. Panning over now, we'll take a look at our leaders. That is out of lane 4, these athletes from Connecticut, so Galloway and Greco. As David mentioned, just a lot of depth in that program, great coaching, great athletes, so perhaps not surprising to see them out ahead. They posted a nice time in the time trial, and they're doing it with power right now. It's a long stroke. They're not using necessarily their stroke rate to put them into this position. We'll see if they put up a sprint in the end, but they don't quite need to as they come in now into the final stretch of this race, final 500 or so.
So talking about these pairs just a little bit for you watching at home, they're difficult to get to go straight because essentially the power through the water and the boat speed that each of these athletes are putting into the boat can vary. As you see them come through, 8-second advantage at 1,500 meters for Connecticut Boat Club. And now you can see just how close it is between Camp Randall in lane 5 and Greenwich in lane 3. In fact, it's basically stroke for stroke. But then there's open water back to 4th place. So this one has spaced out in terms of our top 3. But what I was going to say about the steering is that oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes the bow rower will have the ability to steer these boats. Generally, it's with their feet. And if you've ever been in a boat and you've tried to steer it with your feet while you're rowing and putting in full effort, it is not easy. And so you were seeing sometimes with our overhead drone shot that some of these boats are kind of going side to side in their lanes, and that happens. But the point here is to not make any mistakes because they can be pretty fatal in a pair. And as they come through the last 250, it's still Connecticut Boat Club really dominating this semifinal.
That's right. They're now approaching the tower where we are sitting. We have just a wonderful view of the last 250 meters. So, and now you have a great drone shot here overhead of the Galloway and Greco duo out of Connecticut. They had a great start. They had a great body of the race, middle 1,000, a lot of power, and it's put them in a position to quite comfortably win this semifinal and put themselves in a position, frankly, to win a medal. So a good time from them for the time trial yesterday. A nice performance in the semifinal. An open water lead here as they come through. Then it's over to lane 5, running second. That's the Camp Randall shell. They've managed to push their bow out then well ahead. That's lane 5 coming through. And then lane 3 out of Greenwich. Lane 6 then coming through the line, the other Camp Randall shell. And then Triangle out of lane 2 and their final few strokes and over to River Sport. So Connecticut, Greenwich, and Camp Randall then to advance to the A final. And that's the Camp Randall out of lane 5.
Yeah, Camp Randall to me versus the boat from Greenwich that they sort of got through in the last 500 meters was just a little smoother. And so they're going to see each other in the grand final. They're going to see that their times were, relatively close to one another. They obviously knew what they did relative to each other. And then they're going to see 3 other boats that we're going to find out who they are in this next race, which is semifinal B of the women's youth pair. They're already on the race course in the first 250. In lane 1 is Rowe, New Jersey. Lane 2 is Parati. Lane 3 is PNRA Mercer. Lane 4 is Holy Names. Lane 5 is Winter Park High School. And in lane 6 is White Marsh. And you're seeing a picture now here of these boats on the race course. And your top qualifier coming in was Holy Names. And PNRA Mercer finished 3rd place to Holy Names 2nd place in that time trial yesterday. Connecticut, as we talked about in the last semifinal, won the time trial. But look at this racing that we already have shaping up, Colleen, here in this women's pair semifinal B. It's actually Winter Park out in front. So the Florida crew from Winter Park is in the lead. They've decided they want to take the driver's seat position and play defense. And then it's Holy Names, Mercer, and Parati that are all connected behind them.
Yeah, David, you would know better as a Florida native, but I remember from my high school years just Winter Park being a dominant program. Of course, there's now Sarasota as well, and I would imagine that they're probably pretty big rivals.
For sure. Winter Park High School in the Orlando area, and they have very strong both men's and women's programs at Winter Park High School. And you can see right now that is absolutely the plan from Winter Park in this pair, is that they now have open water at about 750 on the rest of the field. And just look, it's basically stroke for stroke in terms of when they are striking the water as well as where the bows are between lanes 2 and 3, Parati and Mercer. And then you see also in the picture on the left side of the picture is that boat in lane 4 from Holy Names in Seattle. And Holy Names was your top qualifier of these 6 boats coming in. So I think we're going to see potentially, as they come through, you see the 750 sign. Potentially, we're going to need to keep our eye here on Holy Names, given how they qualified moving into this race that we're watching right now. And maybe their speed and their work, as you mentioned in some of the other races, really comes into this middle 1,000. Maybe that's really where they're fastest in that Holy Names pair. But out in front continues to be Winter Park High School, and they're just maintaining that same distance.
And look, just a gorgeous shot here of lanes 2 and 3. That's Parati and PNRA/Mercer. We can see that the Parati crew just rowing a little bit higher, just a little bit quicker, and Mercer and PNRA, that's Cooper and Wojnowicz, just getting the work done in the middle of the stroke. Looks like just a little bit more swing and kind of press from that shell. So we'll keep an eye on those two. Quite the battle, though, going on between lanes 2 and 3. And then, as we've said, Winter Park just holding on to that lead.
So as they come through the halfway point, you're seeing those top 4 coming through the picture here. In 5th place is the boat in lane 6 from White Marsh. And in 6th place is a boat from Rowe, New Jersey in lane 1, as you see the time start to come through. And you see just how close it was. A 1/10 of a second between Parati out of the Woodlands, Texas, and Princeton National Rowing Association, Mercer. Those 2 boats have just been going at it. And they know that they sort of have to reset at halfway and make a decision here. Obviously, they both want to play defense to keep that boat from Holy Names behind them. And this battle that has been all the way down the race course may make it difficult for Holy Names to find the speed to catch those two, as it maybe is getting a little bit closer up front. I don't know if it's a fade from Winter Park so much as it's a real big push here from Parati in lane 2.
Yeah, just a nice push from Parati indeed. So they looks like they took some kind of a press, some kind of a push to try to just get themselves away from Parati. Right when you're that close and kind of going neck and neck, you just want to break away into open water. Winter Park still holding on to that lead, but the battle behind them, look at that, has just brought them up now just on the tip of Winter Park's bow. So we know it's 3 to advance. If you're Parati, Mercer, and Winter Park, you're feeling pretty good right now. But as we move through into the last stretch of this race, you'll just want to hold that position, right? You don't want to take anything for granted.
Yeah, can Holy Names make it uncomfortable? They might be comfortable at the moment, but there you see Holy Names in lane 4 again. Your top qualifier coming into this semifinal. Are they going to have a huge last 500 as we come into it here to try to catch those two that have been leading them all the way down the track for the second and third place positions that would put them into the A final? As they come through, you see that sign, 500 meters to go. Here we go, 4 boats. They're all in the picture. 3 of them are going to move to the A final. Winter Park has been leading this thing all the way down the track, but their lead is now only a second and a half at 500 meters to go. And you can see, again, just how close it is. 0.2 seconds separating Parati and Mercer in the adjacent lanes 2 and 3. And here comes Holy Names. They're trying. They're using the stroke rate. They're trying to find some momentum, some speed. And are they going to be able to catch up at 500 to go? It was a couple of seconds that they were sitting behind these two, but it's getting closer, Colleen.
Oh, Holy Names doing everything they can, which is the right approach as you move into this last quarter. And you know that only 3 boats will advance to the grand final. Holy Names will need to throw everything at it, stroke rate, power. I'm sure that these two athletes are communicating with each other in the shell. You see these 4 boats just ever so tightly packed. And David, what's happened is that the battle between Parati and PNRA and Mercer has led them to get closer to Winter Park. We're now nearly 4 boats level.
Really gutsy row by Winter Park. Are they going to be able to hang on to a qualifying position for the A final? They actually now have fallen behind that race between Parati and Mercer. Look at this, 4 boats connected, 10 feet separating these 4 boats, 3 spots in the grand final up for grabs in the women's youth pair here at our 2021 U.S. Rowing Youth National Regatta. And it's going to come right down to the line. In fact, it's going to be one of those situations where we're going to tell you what we think happens, but it's going to be unofficial, and you're going to have to find out the official results. Here they come.
Gutsy racing from Holy Names out of lane 4, putting themselves in a position. Look at them. They decided to go. They went for it. That's Holy Names out of lane 4, now leading the field. A job well done to Holy Names. They will be first across the line. It's looking like Winter Park will hold on out of lane 5. Then it's over to lane 3. That's PNRA, Mercer, Parati just behind. That is unofficially, though. We'll have times in a moment. Holy Names. That was a great job.
It's like deja vu. I talked about that men's pair race at the 2017 World Championships. That's what happened. Italy basically rode through the rest of the field, rode through 2 boats in the last 250. That's exactly what we just saw from Holy Names, except they got through 3 boats to win that semifinal. What a final 300 meters for Holy Names, as we have Whitemarsh and Rowe, New Jersey crossing the line to finish out our semifinal B of the women's youth pair. And on the race course, you see a drone shot here of our semifinal A of the men's youth double. Why don't you set it up for us, Colleen?
That's right. This is the men's youth double semifinal A. Out of lane 1, it's Waterford with Libre and Holte. Out of lane 2, it's Marenfeld and Feldman from Miami Beach. Lane 3, Hathaway Zimmerman from Oregon Unlimited. Lane 4, Swinney and Parsons from South Eugene. Then it's lane 5, McNicholas and Bressel out of Oak Neck Academy. Then lane 6, Farmer and Donovan out of Western Albemarle.
So on the screen, your early leader in through 500 meters is the boat in lane 5 from Oak Neck Academy, Bayville, New York. About a half a length on your top qualifier, your winner of our time trial in the men's double. That is the boat from South Eugene, Oregon. It's Swinney and Parsons in lane 4. They're sitting in second place. And then it's too close to call between lane 6 and lane 2, it appears. Lane 6 is Western Albemarle, and lane 2 is Miami Beach. Obviously, the Miami Beach double very familiar with this race course, having been here for the state championships and some other races so far already this spring. But it's Oak Neck Academy sticking their necks out here and trying to take the lead early to see if they can play defense all the way down the track. And they have a pretty comfortable lead as they come through 750 and approach the halfway point, and maybe have to think about a reset. And if you're in that Oak Neck boat, you say, all right, we can see everybody. We're in the right spot, and it's just 1,000 meters to the line to try to put ourselves in an A final at our U.S. Rowing Youth National Regatta for 2021. But I think this one's going to come right down to it also. The one thing I want to point out is you just saw the pairs. The pairs, each of the athletes only have one oar. These are the doubles now. So if you're watching at home, you're not as familiar with rowing, you can see that each of these rowers have two oars. And that's what separates the pair and the double.
Yeah, that's right. And certainly no easy feat to steer a double either. But, it is a little bit easier on these athletes to steer these boats just with the symmetry of the way that the boat is structured. Nice press, though. Taking a look at Oak Neck Academy, they've broken into open water from the rest of the field. So their job is to maintain that pace, maintain that speed. And then you see the real race happening just behind them. That's lanes 6. Then over on the far side, it looks like lanes 1 and 2. We know it's 3 to advance, and it looks like Western Albemarle starting to make a push. You can see Donovan, the bowman, just looking over his right shoulder at the rest of the field. He'll have to keep an eye on Miami Beach. It's Waterford, so tightly packed. Oregon Unlimited. David, what a beautiful shot and an exciting race as they move into the second half.
So we talk about this at really every regatta where we're watching 2,000 meter racing, which we are. And look at this shot, just unbelievable racing that we have going on. But this third 500 is critical, and it's really the point in the race where the lactic acid builds up. These athletes start feeling the pain of the effort that they're putting in. And oftentimes, if you have the best third 500, you're going to put yourself in a really good position going into the last 500 where you can hear the crowd. You've got a little bit of adrenaline realizing that you're sort of into the tail end of the race. It's Oak Neck Academy continuing to try to hold off South Eugene. It is much closer now than it was at the halfway point. And as they come through the last 500 meters, here we go, Colleen, because we've got a bunch of boats connected. And in fact, all the way up in lane 1, Waterford in that green shell is right there with the boat in lane 3 from Oregon Unlimited. And you see the times as they come through. In fact, basically dead heat between those two for third place. So it may come right down to it, as up front, it's getting much closer. South Eugene maybe a little bit more speed right now than Oak Neck Academy.
Yes, that's right. And they're now moving towards the finish, just approaching the final 250 meters. Definitely that battle happening up at the front. But the real race happening for third right now, because all things considered, barring any big changes, right, Oak Neck and South Eugene will advance. So these two, just a nice shot of them here as they come into the red buoys. They're the first to cross in that final 250. Pride on the line at this point, right? With the rest of the field just behind them, these two will just want to race each other and have their bow on the right side of this finish. But the question then becomes, who will take that coveted third place position less than 200 meters to go?
Waterford's going to need to put on a push here because it does look like Oregon Unlimited has moved away from Waterford, and they're starting to assert a much more dominant third place position is the boat from Oregon Unlimited. So we're going to have two Oregon boats move through to our grand final in the men's youth double. It does appear that that's going to be the case, but look how close it is coming down. And also in lane 6, Western Albemarle still showing speed. It's really very close racing, and 2,000 meters showed that in the end South Eugene was the boat that was the fastest on the race course. Oak Neck Academy, a gutsy race all the way down. They're going to finish unofficially in second place and move through. So getting the lead and trying to hang on to it worked out, and it does look like Oregon Unlimited will also unofficially move through to the A final. So that was semifinal A of our men's youth double, and we're going to have another semifinal coming at you. We'll be on the race course with them shortly. I'm looking down, and it does appear that they have started. So I'll set the field for you for semifinal B of the men's youth double. In lane 1, we have Cambridge Boat Club. Lane 2 is Redwood Scullers. Lane 3, Newport Seabase. Lane 4, California Yacht Club. Lane 5, Y Quad Cities. And in Lane 6, Camp Randall. When you get the side shot, so when we're getting the shot horizontally along the race course, the non-drone shot, Lane 6 is closest to the camera, Lane 1 is furthest from the camera. But in the drone shot, you're seeing left to right. It's actually Lane 6 on your left, Lane 1 on your right. So just to orient you as you watch the picture, and as we see these boats coming through the first 250 in this B semifinal of the men's youth double. Look at this up front. What is it, 2 feet separating 3 boats?
So tightly packed, and they're now moving through the first part of the race, and all 3 very tightly packed up at the front. Then a little bit of water back to the rest of the field. Y Quad Cities, a lot of history with that program. You've got some really strong junior teams in this event. We've seen great racing from Camp Randall this morning. But for now, a look at our 3 leaders. That's lanes 2, 3, and 4, Redwood Scullers, Newport Seabase, and California Yacht Club.
So 3 California boats are showing the most speed here in this semifinal B of the men's youth double. And look at the picture. Basically, whoever is in the water and pushing their boat through is the one that's out in front. It's just back and forth. And the only time that the bow moves back is when they're getting ready to strike again. And maybe trying to take an advantage here at 750 just slightly is that boat from Redwood Scullers. But again, these athletes, there wasn't a lot of racing on the West Coast, but I assume that they potentially could have raced each other, all 3 of these boats being from California that are on your picture. And it's just, it's anybody's race at this point. Is this race up front, though, going to sort of decimate the rest of the field? Is anybody else going to get in the mix? Your closest competitor, and it does look like they have an overlap on the 3, is the boat from Y Quad Cities in lane 5.
And now just taking a look at the results from yesterday's time trial, the Newport Seabase duo and California Yacht Club posted both just such close times. They were 0.2 of a second apart from each other in the time trials. California Yacht Club just a tiny bit faster. So I think we can expect somewhat similar speeds unless they've saved some kind of a special move for today. You never know. And really it's Redwood Scullers then. We'll see if they can hang with those 2 leading crews. They've done a nice job so far, but then it is back to the rest of the field. As we know, it's 3 to advance. So without, since there's no sort of tight racing happening behind them, we'll see if the rest of the field is able to advance. It looks like, though, taking a close look then at lane 5, Y Quad Cities, they're doing everything in their power to make that happen.
And you mentioned, Colleen, that Y Quad Cities really has a big-time pedigree in these sculling events. They're, I think, a full-time sculling program out of Y Quad Cities. I think their boathouse is physically located in Iowa, but they are the ones that kind of have gotten into the mix. So it's a 4-boat race now. They maybe were a little bit off the pace. I looked at the times as they came through halfway. They're about 3 seconds behind your leader. It's got to be a lot closer now. We're going to see the times when they come through the 1,500 meter point, I think, tighten up from where they were at 1,000. But right now it's California Yacht Club. They took a move there looks like the second 500 to get the lead. It's about a half a length. That's what you're seeing in your picture. Second place is that boat from Newport Seabase with the red unisuits, the yellow shell. And then in third place, you don't see Y Quad Cities in the picture. It's going to be very close between Redwood Scullers in lane 2 and Y Quad Cities in lane 5, which is not really a surprise coming in very similar times from the time trial. So it's going to come down to it here. Can Y Quad Cities find some speed to try to track down one of these boats ahead of them, the closest one being Redwood Scullers as they come through? We're starting to see the times here. 500 meters to go. Semifinal B of the men's youth double. 4 boats in your picture. One of them's going to be left out of that grand final.
California Yacht Club then asserting themselves with about a half-length advantage over Newport Seabase. Newport Seabase out of lane 3 in the yellow shell. So again, California Yacht Club and Newport Seabase just such close times from the time trial, but California Yacht Club showing their speed here. Newport Seabase maybe making a bit of a press back. But as we've said, the real race then between lanes 2, which is Redwood Scullers, and Y Quad Cities out of lane 5. It'll take a bit of work from Y Quad Cities to put themselves in a qualifying position, but that is, of course, exactly what's on their mind in these final 250.
Not to be left out, lanes 1 and 6. are Cambridge and Camp Randall. Looks like Camp Randall slightly ahead of Cambridge for 5th and 6th place. But the lead has swelled just a little bit. It's almost a full length for California Yacht Club. But here comes Y Quad Cities. As Colleen mentioned, I think at 500 to go, they put on a move. I think they've taken over 3rd place ahead of Redwood Scullers. Can Redwood Scullers find some speed? Can they push it back into Y Quad Cities? They're not terribly close to one another physically on the race course, so it may be difficult for Redwood Scullers to understand that Y Quad Cities kind of just moved past them. And here we go, right down to the line. Everybody showing more speed. In fact, California Yacht Club even getting tracked down just a little bit there for a few strokes by Newport Seabase, but it is Y Quad Cities very commandingly now in a 3rd place position. It's going to be unofficially California Yacht Club ahead of Newport Seabase, Y Quad Cities, and then a little bit of heartbreak there for Redwood Scullers that were in a qualifying position all the way through 1,500 meters. They're going to finish unofficially in 4th place. And then it looks like Camp Randall is going to finish just slightly ahead of Cambridge Boat Club. That was semifinal B of the men's youth double. The next boat class that we're going to see on the race course is the women's youth double. And Colleen, why don't you set that field for us?
So the women's youth double, semifinal A. Out of lane 1, we have Facio and Gamalo from Miami, Muir and Pritchard from Maritime, then Graham and Whittle from Redwood Scullers. It's Joe Sims and Lida from Three Rivers, and Wellert and Arucci from Oakneck Academy, then Libre and Holty from Waterford.
So that's your field, and we've got a great drone shot of the entire field. Nobody really taking a commanding lead, but it does look like a slight lead here for lane 4, your top qualifier and your winner of the time trial, which is the women of Three Rivers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Top of that boat you saw on the drone is red. The ends of the boats are called the deck. So if you hear us say the red top deck, that is that boat in lane 4, sort of in the middle of your screen from Three Rivers. They are out in front. 2nd place is the boat all the way on the right side in lane 1 from Miami. Obviously very familiar with the race course here at Nathan Benderson Park is Miami. And they're sitting in 2nd place, about a half a length ahead of really the rest of the field. And it's too close to call. You can see just how amazing it is, and we'll see it as they come through 1,000. It's probably going to be a second separating the remaining 4 boats in the field behind the boats from Three Rivers and Miami. And actually, as they come through 500, we saw a shot there of 1,000, but they're only at 500. But look at this race going on. 5 boats connected in front of us. Beautiful picture. The only one that's out in front is that boat that won the time trial from Three Rivers, and they really have a commanding lead at this point, Colleen.
And Three Rivers, of course, with quite a margin from the time trials on the rest of the field. Not quite 10 seconds, about 9 seconds faster on paper yesterday in the time trials. So perhaps not surprising to see them out ahead, but as we've been saying all morning, right, the racing and the competitiveness that's happening behind them to advance into the final as well. They'll have to keep an eye on, right, and continue to push themselves down the course. Lane 6, just a beautiful shot then of the bow. That's Waterford with Libre and Holty doing everything they can to put themselves into that qualifying position. Lane 5 making a press for it. That's Oak Neck Academy. Those are our 3 currently in qualifying positions. Of course, Three Rivers, then Waterford and Oak Neck Academy.
And then maybe 2 feet separating lanes 1 through 3, Miami Maritime and Redwood Scullers. So awesome racing. This is what we expect in a semifinal. Obviously, we had the time trials yesterday, and that's how we are now with these 6 boats that you're looking at in this semifinal A. And Three Rivers there with the white boat and the red blades. They are out in front, and really that's all that we can be pretty certain of as they come through 1,000 meters. Some of these other boats have to really kind of reset. You've got the boat in lane 6 from Waterford, and they're about a half a length ahead of the boat from Oak Neck Academy. Half a length is about, it looks like, if you're looking at the times, about 2 seconds. Not even, probably about a second. So you've got Three Rivers out in front, driver's seat, and they look very tough. I don't think anybody's going to really probably track them down. But we still have 4 boats connected for places 2 through 5. I mean, and any one of these boats could find a big third 500 here, or as we've seen in some of the other races, could find an amazing last 500 and kind of blow through the rest of them. But it's top 3. And right now it looks like Oak Neck Academy might have pushed slightly past the boat from Waterford. I was looking at their stroke ratings, and Waterford has been a little bit lower than Oak Neck Academy. So maybe Waterford has some room to move if they take up their strike rate, Colleen, but this is just coming down to it.
It is. And yeah, Oak Neck Academy putting themselves in a nice position. Perhaps a little bit surprising to see Redwood Scullers not, at least last we saw, not quite in a qualifying position. So keeping an eye on bow number 3. Again, just looking at times on papers yesterday. We know that anything can happen in a race, but we'll see if bow 3, Redwood Scullers, has another level to put themselves into that qualifying position, starting to fall off the pace just a bit. A look, though, at Waterford and Oak Neck Academy doing everything they can to put themselves into that qualifying position. There's just so much on the line in these semifinals. This is the last chance for these athletes to make a run at the podium. No doubt, Three Rivers well on their way. A great look at them in the center of the field. A nice straight shot towards the finish as they close in on the final 500. Three Rivers leads, then Oak Neck Academy and Waterford right with them. We'll keep an eye on the rest of the field, still pretty tightly packed.
So Maritime and Redwood Scullers, that's where I have my eye. Are they going to be able to find speed in the last 500 as they come through? And you see that it essentially was dead level between Waterford and Oak Neck Academy, but there is a gap there back to Maritime and Redwood Scullers. Can that gap certainly can be closed in 500 meters. It is capable of happening, but they're going to have to really find some more speed in those 2 lanes to try to track down these 3 that are out in front on your picture. It's Three Rivers. They've dominated the field all the way down. We saw them sort of somewhat dominate the time trial. Colleen told you that they qualified 9 seconds ahead of the second qualifier for this semifinal, which was Redwood Scullers, but they also won the time trial completely by 4 seconds yesterday. And that's probably about the gap that we're going to see here at the finish line is probably going to be about a 4-second win if the gaps remain the same. But this back and forth between lanes 5 and 6, Oak Neck Academy and Waterford, has been kind of one of those races that even though it's a semifinal, these 4 athletes are going to remember for the rest of their lives, Colleen. It's been back and forth all the way down.
You don't forget these races, no doubt about it. Three Rivers holding on to their lead as they come through the final 250. Then out of lane 6, a charge from Waterford to make sure they put themselves in that qualifying position. We just saw them out of lane 6 push themselves a little bit further ahead of Oak Neck Academy. Oak Neck Academy holding on to it, but look at Three Rivers go. A lot of control, a good controlled, powerful race and execution, a good effort from that team out of Pittsburgh. That's Three Rivers rowing, and it's looking, David, like it's Waterford and Oak Neck.
So Waterford coming in, not really one of the top qualifiers through that time trial, but maybe they're just a better racing boat side by side. And it's going to be Three Rivers ahead of Waterford and Oak Neck Academy, unofficially your 3 that will move through to our A final of the women's youth double. 4th place is going to be Redwood Scullers, slightly ahead of Maritime from Connecticut, who will finish ahead of your early leader there, Miami. They did what they had to try to get the lead early and see if they could just try to stay in front. Didn't quite have it all the way down our track. So that was semifinal A of the women's youth double. As you see the unofficial times start to come through on the screen. Again, unofficially Three Rivers moving through, as well as Waterford and Oak Neck Academy to the A final. Let's set the field for the B semifinal of the women's youth double. In lane 1, we have Parati. Lane 2, Cambridge Boat Club. Lane 3 is Runson Fairhaven. Lane 4 is Oars. Lane 5, Niskayuna, and in lane 6 is St. Mary Bayview. And in these smaller boats, Colleen, we sometimes see these smaller programs, and that's kind of what we're seeing in this semifinal, which is awesome. We're seeing some Scholastic crews here and some smaller clubs showing that they have speed in these smaller boats. They may not have as many athletes on their team overall, but they have national caliber speed in these smaller boats, this time the women's youth double.
Yeah, that's right. They're quite strategic then about which boats they decide, which boat classes they decide to really go all in on. Out of lane three, RFH, our leader. Then you can see lane five, that's Niskayuna from upstate New York. And then it's over to lane one, another Parati shell. We saw great racing from a Parati pair earlier today. So keeping an eye now on their double, but it's first to cross through that 500-meter mark. A nice press out of RFH, and then the rest of the field pretty tightly packed behind.
Yeah, and as the times come through, you'll see, again, just as with all of the other semifinals that we've had this morning and will continue to have all morning long, just how close in speed all of these boats are. Look at that. Looks like places 2 through 5 separated by like 2 or 3 seconds total. So the only thing that we know and you see on your screen is that it is a fairly commanding lead right now for Runson Fairhaven out of New Jersey, with about a length on second place, lane 5, Niskayuna. Niskayuna maybe with a length or 3/4 of a length on it. Looks like I'm gonna hand third place at the moment to Oars in lane 4, but they have 2 boats connected with them, and so they really have to be. It's not a comfortable third place right now for Oars in lane 4. And they need to be very careful of the boats up there in lanes 1 and 2 at the moment, which are Parati and Cambridge that are pacing each other through 750. You can see only about a half a length off third place Oars there in lane 4.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Oars. I think that's right as they come through the 1,000 to see if they have something up their sleeves. You see, though, bow number 2, that's Cambridge Boat Club. Maybe Jevy Stone is sending them some good vibes right now. Olympian Jevy Stone over to lane 2 because it looks like they're making a really nice press. Lots of time left in this race. On the one hand, there's a lot of time. On the other hand, we're in the body of the race. Not quite that third 500 rather that we spoke on earlier, where you really need to set yourself up for the finish. But this is a part of the race where you really want to put yourself in a position to have a great third 500. It looks like that's exactly what O'Neill and Johnson out of Cambridge Boat Club are doing. Through the 1,000, though, first it is that nice push out of lane 3.
So it is Runson Fairhaven winning to the 1,000 in semifinal B of the women's youth double, but only by about a second. It's getting a little bit closer. That boat from Niskayuna in lane 5 is only about a second behind. And then look, a tenth of a second separating Oars and Cambridge for that coveted third place spot. Yeah, I've been watching this race on the screen as you've been talking, Colleen, and I just feel like the momentum from some of these boats, they're all just kind of, I think this last 500 could be really kind of a bloodbath. I think that we're going to see some more speed from all of these boats, and it's going to tighten up in the last 500 because I'm just sort of seeing everybody kind of maintain the same pace. There's no big movement in the field other than the field is starting to catch that boat from Runson Fairhaven just a little bit. As you see the picture here, it's Runson Fairhaven in the boat with the bow card 3 with those white visors, about a half a length only as they come through 1250 ahead of second place Niskayuna. But look, it still is just so close. It's probably 6 inches or a foot. No matter, it's the boat that's in the water between Cambridge and Oars for that third place spot.
And a great shot then. Niskayuna has taken some kind of a push over the last couple of 100 strokes. They haven't quite put their bow ahead of lane 3, but that is exactly what they intend to do. Keeping an eye on Cambridge, though, we can see the Cambridge bow. Johnson just looking over her left shoulder to see where the field is. Everybody is chasing lane 3. That is RFH right now. Niskayuna is on the hunt, and here comes Cambridge.
Niskayuna about to take the lead on Runson Fairhaven. What is Runson Fairhaven going to do, knowing that maybe they've given up that lead as they come through 500 meters, and they're getting really pushed by Cambridge on their right? So to their left of Runson Fairhaven, who won this race all the way through 1,400 meters, but it's a 2,000-meter race course that they're rowing. Are they going to have an answer? It does look like they have answered just a little bit. Has Runson Fairhaven that huge move from Niskayuna that came at approaching 500 to go, and it's Cambridge, you can see, who is now starting to pull away from Oars. So the top 3 are just getting closer as they come down, and that boat from Cambridge really left to some extent Oars in the dust there at 500 to go. So as they come through and you start to see the buoys on your screen change from yellow to red, you'll know they'll be in the last 250 meters. But it's Niskayuna in lane 5, really with a fairly commanding lead now. and it's up there in lane 3, Runson Fairhaven trying to hold off Cambridge Boat Club.
Yeah, what a press from Niskayuna in the second half of this race. They were patient in the first half. They had another place to go, as you mentioned. Perhaps not everybody was really showing all of their cards in the first half of the race. That's certainly the case for Niskayuna. We'll see if they can hold this lead. Then it is over to RFH and to Cambridge. Cambridge, who has pulled themselves up into that third place position. A little bit surprising, perhaps, to see Oars, who had the fastest time of the bunch in the time trial, now running fourth. But it's looking like these will be our 3 to advance: Niskayuna, RFH, and Cambridge.
So there is a little open water back to Oars, as you mentioned, and they did come in with the fastest time from the time trial. But this sport is about side-by-side racing, so the time trial mattered. You had to be in the top 12 to get into one of these semifinals, but we've seen in several of the races, including this one, that what you did in the time trial may not translate to side-by-side racing. And it's going to be Niskayuna that is going to win this B semifinal of the women's double, and it's going to come down maybe even to a photo between Runson Fairhaven and Cambridge Boat Club. Cambridge Boat Club maybe with about 5 feet on that Runson Fairhaven boat, and then it's going to be super close as well between Oars and St. Mary Bayview right in front of us in lane 6. They will finish 4th and 5th respectively, ahead of Parati. So another very interesting race with a lot of with a big lead change and a lot of different things going on amongst the crews as they went down the race course. As we see, the next race is already on the course, and we are into semifinal A of the men's Youth 4. So it's the first race for Colleen and myself to talk about coxswains. And why don't you set the field for us?
Yeah, we won't be able to help ourselves because we're both retired coxswains. The field, though, is Montclair out of lane 1. It is Cincinnati out of lane 2, then Belmont Hill lane 3, Christian Brothers lane 4, out of lane 5 Marin, and lane 6 local favorite Sarasota.
So your top qualifier coming in was Christian Brothers in lane 4. They won the time trial by 3 seconds over the rest of the field. They're out of Lincroft, New Jersey. And as we come through 500, look at that shot. It is the boat from Christian Brothers that is out in front. And then it was literally dead level. You're going to see the times come through between Belmont Hill, Cincinnati Juniors, and Montclair. And it still looks like it. You can see that the bows of those 3 boats that I just mentioned in lanes 1 through 3, the bow balls are right at the coxswain's head of that boat in the in lane 4 from Christian Brothers. So, what a race we've got going on early. These 4s, it's a little as the boats get a little bit bigger, it's harder for a move to really make a huge effect on the race course. Everybody in this thing, though, look at this shot we have from the drone. Even lane 6 Sarasota, lane 5 Marin, 2 traditional powerhouses in youth rowing, still in this thing and connected with everybody except maybe Christian Brothers as they come through 750. Look at this race we got going on here. Our first coxed race of our morning. It's the men's Youth 4.
Yeah, nice press from Christian's Brothers in the black boat out of lane 4, and then just on their tail, it's Belmont Hill out of lane 3. Of course, it's 3 to advance, same progression as we've had all morning, so 3 to advance to the A final. As David mentioned, yes, it takes, with the bigger boats with more athletes, those moves can take a little bit longer to sort of manifest. So if you call for a power 10 or some kind of a move, it can take a little bit longer than what we've seen right in the doubles and the pairs, etc. But the opposite proves true as well. There's a little bit more room to make a small mistake here or there and be able to collectively come back. So the bigger the boats get, that's kind of the scenario we're looking at. Christian Brothers, though, holding their lead, Belmont Hill, and we can see times pop up on the graphic. Then it's over to Montclair and Cincinnati Juniors, so close. In fact, dead even at that
look at
point
this.
at the
All
1,000.
4 of these boats in places 3 through 6 are separated by less than a second. That's your shot. Those are 4 boats going for that third place coveted position. If you're the coxswain in one of these boats, you're thinking at the halfway point, you got to let the rowers know where they stand and let them know that they're in a dogfight and that they're going to have to find the second 1,000 of their lives here to put themselves in an A final in the men's Youth 4. I love those overhead shots as well because we see even how these boats are rigged. You see that boat from Marin right there in the middle of the picture. You see 2 oars on the same side in consecutive seats. That's called a bucket. And you're seeing that also from Christian Brothers, who's been out in front all the way. But if you look at the boat next to them from Belmont Hill, it's more traditionally rigged. There's not two oars on the same side in consecutive seats. Belmont Hill, a very long tradition in the men's Youth 4. And they're showing it here, going with Christian Brothers out front of this field, and it's just going to come down to it. Everybody else is still in the mix for that 3rd place spot. Just an awesome race in semifinal A of the men's Youth 4.
Yeah, that rigging really working for them, right? It just allows them, their coach will make that decision to essentially just match power and match length and really look for precision and symmetry. So that's working for them right now, Christian Brothers, as we move towards the last stretch. You see the times coming up at the 1,500 meter mark, which means there is less than 500 to go, 3 to qualify. Christian Brothers leads.
Marin, a solid 3rd place now. So at the halfway point, it really was extremely close. Now it's Marin's 3rd place to try to fight everybody away from. They're sitting in the driver's seat for 3rd place as Christian Brothers moves it out to a full length over Belmont Hill. Belmont Hill with about 3/4 of a length over a hard charging Marin. Is anybody going to be able to go with Marin? I think maybe not here. Marin really showing it. So I don't know if it was the coxswain, deciding to tell the rowers to take up the stroke rating. And it's maybe even slightly, to my eye, a little bit disjointed in the Marin boat, but it doesn't make any difference. They're showing speed, and it's really power through the water that has them sitting in a qualifying position for the A final, Colleen. Last 200 meters for your leader, Christian Brothers. They have a full length on Belmont Hill. Belmont Hill with a full length on Marin. You don't see Sarasota in the picture. They're in lane 6. And it's gonna come down to it here, but it is Marin who decided at 500 to go that they really wanted that 3rd place spot.
Yeah, what a push from Marin. They took up the stroke rate. They found another level power-wise. They'll need to hold that for these last 20 strokes or so. It looks like they're in a position to do so. Of course, on the far side, though, these athletes charging towards them, Cincinnati, it looks like Marin will be able to hold. So it will be Christian Brothers then to win the semi and cross through first. Then it's over to Belmont Hill. And closest to us from the tower and the shore, lane 5, that is Marin, another youth powerhouse program. And we can just see, I love, David, watching them sort of celebrate those who did make it through. And of course, it's disappointing for those who did not.
Well, and they know what they did because they've got a coxswain in there letting them know that really what they did at 500 meters got them into the A final. So we're looking at semifinal B of the men's Youth 4. I'll set the field for you. In lane 1, it's St. Louis. Lane 2 is Row America Rye. Lane 3 is Nobles. Lane 4 is Newport. Lane 5, Maritime. And in lane 6 is St. Joe's Prep. So we have a couple of Scholastic boats in here in Nobles and St. Joe's Prep. And again, if you remember, Colleen, St. Joe's won their semifinal of the men's pair earlier. And as I said, looking at the times in the men's Youth 8, they, I think, had the fastest time in the time trial. So we could be seeing a very fast across-the-board St. Joe's Prep team here if they can get the 4 into the grand final as well. But they're in the first 250 or 500 meters. That sign right there that they just came through is 250. And we're starting to get a picture here of this field. No rest for the weary. These races just continue to keep going off and coming at us. It does look like lane 3 is the boat that's out in front at the moment. That's Nobles in that black boat. But look how close it is with everyone else.
Yeah, we dare not call exactly who's running second or third at the moment. No doubt about it. Nobles is leading. Still overlap with the rest of the field, but just an absolutely beautiful shot of the rest of the field, right? Tightly packed as they come through 500 meters down. It's Nobles to cross first, a minute 33.4. Then it is St. Louis with the second fastest time. Then over to Maritime running third, but just barely. I mean, it is ever so packed in the second quarter of the race.
Look at this. Yikes. Look at this picture. 10 feet separating 5 boats. The only thing we know is that Nobles is out in front. They're not even in the picture at the moment. And you've got 6 boats across. You have the coxswain you can see in that lane 6 boat. The St. Joe's Prep boat, he's only got to look one way to his left to see everybody that he's racing against for a spot in the grand final. How's this going to shape up in the middle 1,000 is going to tell us a lot, because 5 boats connected at this point coming through 500 meters and separated by about a second and a half doesn't tell us much of anything other than everybody is still there. As they come through 750, I don't even know. Maybe lane 5, Maritime showing some speed, but it's really not, it's almost not worth calling still, because it sort of is whoever is finding a little bit more momentum is kind of in the qualifying positions. It still is about 10 feet separating 4 boats. The only one maybe that's dropped off just slightly is Row America Rye, but that is a very strong program with a lot of very fast athletes in Row America Rye, so I'd keep my eye on them. I don't think that falling half a length off the pace is going to mean a whole lot at this point.
St. Louis starting to poke their bow out. That was a shot of the Nobles crew, but St. Louis bow number 1 starting to separate themselves a little bit from the field. There's still 1,000 meters to go, and 3 to advance. Maritime starting to separate themselves as well. But yeah, David, I'll let you call the exact order of all the crews, because I dare not. It is truly so close. Nobles, though, holding on to their lead. Newport, in fact, with the fastest time yesterday, although you've been keeping me honest, David, it doesn't matter, right? When you get lined up, when you line up next to the competition, really anything can happen. But Nobles out of lane 3, holding on a good open water, then back to the rest of the field. First, second, and third to advance to the A final and a shot at the medals.
And that's a picture of Nobles, your leader out of the Boston area. They do have a commanding lead. That's all we know. I really think that anybody in the rest of the field could put themselves in the A final. You got a shot there of lane 1, that's St. Louis. Lane 5, that is Maritime. Look at that. All 5 of those boats are white shells, and they're all connected. So maybe 20 feet separating these 5, and it's really going to come down to guts. It's going to come down to what the coxswain has to do with this race in terms of motivating the athletes and calling the race plan in the last 500 meters. This is the type of race that is not comfortable, but again, we've talked about it, this type of race that you're going to remember the rest of your lives, even though it's only a semifinal. At this U.S. Rowing Youth National Regatta, maybe pulling out a little bit of St. Louis, maybe trying to go with them even is Row America Rye now. They're right back into the mix. So I said don't count them out, but still in second place is the boat, in second place, it looks like the boat from Maritime. We'll see the times come through. 500 meters to go. Here we go. It's going to come down to it. This one's going to come right down to the line for those spots in the grand final.
And Row America pushing St. Louis. St. Louis with a nice press in the second quarter of the race and through the 1,000. Row America out of lane 2, just next to them with an answer. So we'll keep an eye on them. And then, yes, Maritime as well out of lane 5. It looks like those 3 are gunning for a second or a third place position, a qualifying position. We see Nobles out ahead, barring any mistakes, they will advance. But we know that there's only 3 to qualify. And right now, Row America, St. Louis, and Maritime are all battling for it. And Newport, not to be left out, they're about a half a length behind those 3, but they're still starting to run out of time in the final 250, but could find a surge. It's Nobles on the move. It looks like St. Louis wants to make a go for it, David. Row America with them.
25 strokes left. This is as good as it gets. This is where the adrenaline really starts pumping. If you're one of the athletes in these boats and the coxswain is telling you, look, you're in a qualifying position, we got to hang on to it, or look, we need a couple seats to get into a qualifying position. That's where it is now. We're looking for 3 boats to move through to the A final. It's Nobles trying to go start to finish, put themselves in the A final, even though they didn't come in with the top qualifying time. They are going to put themselves in the A final as Nobles, and it's going to come right down to it. It's going to be a photo finish. You do have 3 boats in the mix. It's St. Louis. It's Row America Rye. It's Maritime in lane 5. Unofficially, it's going to be St. Louis by about a seat ahead of Row America Rye. Row America Rye about 3/4 of a length ahead of Maritime, who will finish 3/4 of a length ahead of Newport. And finishing unofficially in 6th place is the boat from lane 6, St. Joe's Prep.
They took some kind of a push. They know that they need to keep their bow in it. It's looking like it's Row New Jersey at the moment. Row America Rye starting to break into a little bit of a lead, but just barely. San Diego not letting them loose. Those are our two leaders. Row New Jersey looks like they're holding on to third place.
They are, but it's only about a deck for Row New Jersey. It's maybe 10 feet at most ahead of Atomic. Atomic really tried to close the gap. They did, but it does look like Row New Jersey with 250 meters to go. They're in that position. Does that coxswain even see all the way across to Atomic is the question that I have as I watch this go, but it does look like the speed in that Row New Jersey boat is just a little bit more than we're seeing from Atomic as they come through in front of us. The white boat in lane 3 out in front, that's Row America Rye. They are half a length ahead of the red boat from San Diego. San Diego 3/4 of a length or maybe a full length on Row New Jersey. As you see all those signs, these athletes know that they're in the last strokes. The coxswain in the Row America Rye boat saying 10 more strokes to the line and we're going to put ourselves in a favored lane for the A final. Here comes San Diego. They're closing the gap. On the outside, it continues to be Atomic. They're still trying to push Row New Jersey. It's going to come right down to it. Again, anything we call here is unofficial, but it is going to be Row America Rye just ahead of San Diego, and then I'm going to give it slightly to Row New Jersey just ahead of a very good row from Atomic in lane 6, who will finish ahead of PNRA Mercer and then Wilson High School.
That is going to be some final, indeed. So a job well done. You see Row America's time, 7:16.2. Then it was San Diego to take second with the 7:17.7 unofficially, I believe. We'll see the rest of the times in a moment as they roll in. But a really nice press from Row New Jersey and a good effort from Atomic, especially in the last 500 meters.
Yeah, really good battle between the two of them, and unfortunately it looks like Atomic just came out on the short end at the very, very really last 10 strokes and at the line. So the next race that we're going to see on the race course is going to be 4 rowers, but no coxswain this time, Colleen. It's the men's youth quad, and I'll let you set the field.
With pleasure, David. Lane 1, Los Gatos. Lane 2, Texas Center. Lane 3, Charlotte Youth. Lane 4, Malvern Preparatory School. Lane 5, Conestoga. And lane 6, Maritime. So yes, coxless boats. This is a quad. I kind of chuckled because I thought, yeah, well, in a quad, they're probably happy not to have the coxswain and just go off and not have that sort of weight to carry. But it does mean that they are self-steered. So as we've been talking about, that's an added challenge for these rowers who are already thinking about a million different things, their own strokes, their own pace and cadence, etc. And typically the bowman or bowwoman will steer the boat. And a nice shot then as they come down the field. Semifinal A, 3 to advance.
So it's a men's youth quad. As opposed to the 4s that we just saw, each of these athletes have 2 oars apiece. So 8 oars. These are also, if you're watching at home and maybe not as familiar with rowing, this is the second fastest boat class you're going to see all morning is this men's quad. And you can see that Malvern Prep, a very long tradition in the men's quad, out in front in that yellow boat in lane 4 that is at the bottom of the screen relative to everyone else. Malvern Prep from the Philadelphia area. They won the time trial by only about a second over the boat that we're going to see in the second semifinal, which is Marin. But it's Malvern Prep really with a commanding lead. You see them on the right there as we get the horizontal picture. Second place is the boat, it looks like in lane 5 from Conestoga. Also a very long tradition of sculling at the youth level for Conestoga. As you see them come through 1,000, and we'll start to get the times filtering through at some of these points, but it is Malvern Prep ahead of Los Gatos, and then it's Charlotte Youth and Conestoga. But you can see that it's only a second, maybe not even a second. It's less than a second separating Los Gatos to Conestoga, places 2 through 4, Colleen.
I love this racing. I love the quad for the reason you mentioned. It is a fast boat. It's a fun boat to row. It's a really fun boat to watch. And they just fly down the course. This race will be over before we know it. In fact, it's already 750 meters to go. That was a look at our leader. That's Malvern Prep School. and you can see them now with the aerial shot just charging down the course. 3 to advance to the A final. Last we saw, it was looking like Malvern, whom we see on the screen now, then Los Gatos out of California, and then Charlotte Youth out of lane 3. So we'll see if anything upsets that. No doubt about it, though, Malvern Prep School on their way down in making their way to the grand final.
And a great picture. They're looking very clinical with the rowing. You can see all the bodies moving together in almost perfect unison when we had that shot of Malvern Prep from the side. But you can see it is just working. And they've got such a distance here that we may not see a full finish from them. You never really know. Again, they're going to put themselves, if they hang on to it, into the grand final. And we're going to have a time here at the finish line that's right around 6 minutes, very fast, maybe with this very slight tailwind that we have at Nathan Benderson Park this morning. But look at this. It is now even closer at 500 meters to go between places 2 through 4. It's less than half a second. You've got Charlotte Youth there. You've got Los Gatos. You've got Conestoga. One of them is going to be left out. In the picture is also Texas Center there in lane 2. Don't want to leave them out if they can find some sort of tremendous speed as they come. It's the red shell of Charlotte Youth that is going with Conestoga, that yellow shell in lane 5. They have pulled away a little bit, have those 2 boats from Los Gatos. Does Los Gatos have an answer to try to get back into a qualifying position? But it's Malvern Prep out in front.
And the race is on then for Los Gatos. They'll need to throw everything they have at it in this last stretch. It looks like that's exactly what they're doing. Yes, Conestoga is currently running second, but you can see the race for those coveted second and third place positions are on. Malvern Prep well on their way towards the line to advance to the A final. But can Conestoga do it? Los Gatos is on the move. Charlotte Youth holding their position. It's Los Gatos, Conestoga. Oh, ever so tight as they move through the last stretch.
It's getting exciting. Here comes Malvern Prep. They're going to win it by about a length. It does look like Charlotte moved away in the last 20 strokes from Conestoga. Unofficially, Charlotte Youth will finish in second place, move through to the A final, as will Conestoga, finishing in third, just ahead of Los Gatos. And then a photo finish between Texas Center and Maritime B in lane 6. And we will see Maritime A in our next semifinal. As the times start filtering through, you see pretty close to 6 minutes even for Malvern Prep, winning that first semifinal of the men's youth quad, Colleen, and we're getting ready for the B final. Just on the picture there, you see the official with the white flag up, and that goes up at the end of a race to signal that it doesn't appear that there's any problem with that previous race. But the next semifinal will be the second semifinal of the men's youth quad. And again, as with all the progression this morning, we're looking for the top 3 that will race for places 1 through 6 in the nation. Let me set the field for you. In lane 1 is St. Mark's. Lane 2 is Utah. Lane 3 is Maritime. Lane 4, Marin. Lane 5, Miami. And in lane 6, Niskayuna.
So this race then well underway, and we'll get a sense of margins here in just a moment. And we'll see, the top 3 finishers will determine who will advance to the A final. And it's looking like Maritime is having a great start. The rest of the crew is pretty tightly packed as they move through 500. Again, we'll get a sense of margins here in just a moment. But who will join Charlotte Youth, Malvern Prep, and Conestoga in the final? Maritime leads. You can see them just poking out by about a bow deck. Then it's over to Marin with Miami running third. Tightly packed for first through third. And then it's bow number 5. It looks like bow number 5, Miami, trying to push themselves back in it as well.
This is what makes this regatta so special. Your leader right now is Maritime out of Connecticut. In second place is Marin out of Northern California. In third place is Miami out of South Florida. And it's just, we have these fields that are made up of these crews from all over the country. And they're the fastest crews in the country. As we now see a move from Marin, it almost makes me hearken back to watching when Marin was winning the men's youth 8 on a regular basis. They just have this they used to have this crazy move early on in the race that would put themselves out in front. And they've taken one here, it looks like, at about 600 or 650 meters. And that's a good shot of Marin, who is out in front. They were your top qualifier, slightly ahead of Maritime from that time trial. Those are your 2 boats that are out in front in the picture.
Yeah, nice effort from Marin right now. Good length, a lot of power through the middle. They're setting themselves up to be not quite one length over Maritime. Maritime making sure that they maintain that contact with Miami running third. So Miami's biggest threat right now, Niskayuna, not to be left out. Utah on the far side over in lane 2. In fact, as you can see, Utah, Niskayuna ever so close with a slight advantage to Utah. So a bit of a battle happening between Utah and Niskayuna. And then it's St. Mark's running 6th. So Miami will need to hold that third place position as Niskayuna and Utah race for it as well.
Yeah, it's actually St. Mark's. I think that the time's caught up there. It's St. Mark's in lane 1 that is right there challenging Miami, and that's the picture that we have right now, which is the super race that's going on for that third spot. That spot in the grand final that's up for grabs between those two crews. And then you saw that boat in lane 2 is a boat from Utah, and they're right there. They're only about a half a length off the pace. And also, you didn't see in the picture is Niskayuna in lane 6. They are right there as well. So what we know right now is that Marin has a little bit of open water. You see them on the right side of the screen. As we go back to that battle going on for the third place spot as they come through 1,300 meters, 700 meters to go. And they've got to sort of look around and understand what they need to do in the last 500, and that they're in a battle for their lives to try to put themselves into a grand final at the U.S. Rowing Youth National Regatta for 2021. It's still Miami hanging on, but they continue to get pushed by St. Mark's and Niskayuna on the outside. As we go back up to our leader, that is Marin out in front, a full length ahead of Maritime.
It's right. That's right. It's Marin, Maritime, and then as we've said, it's Miami currently running third, but they'll really need to keep an eye out for lane 1. That's St. Mark's, and then Niskayuna right with St. Mark's as well. These athletes now well into the final 500 and approaching the final 250, where the buoys will change to red. Maritime, Marin, Miami continues to hold, but they need to keep an eye for St. Mark's.
And Niskayuna, the boat that's closer to the beach, is also connected with Miami. This one's going to come down to it, folks, for that third spot that will go to the grand final in our men's youth quad. But out in front continues to be Marin in the white boat with the red blades, and their advantage has just swelled all the way down the race course. They've got open water. Second place continues to be that boat from Maritime, and this is going to come down to it. This is for all the marbles here to try to get into the grand final, Colleen. Niskayuna on the outside, maybe even showing more speed right now than Miami. Maybe all the way up there in lane 1, St. Mark's also showing more speed than Miami. Is Miami going to be able to counter these moves? It's Niskayuna, it's St. Mark's. It's going to come down to it.
And a nice press from Marin out of lane 4. Clearwater back to Maritime just behind them. Good power from Marin. That puts them in a position to take first. And then it's over to Maritime. And yes, David, look at Niskayuna go. A really nice press from Niski in the last 750 meters or so, 500 meters. What a sprint from that crew. They knew that they needed it. We'll have results officially here in a moment. But it looks like it was Niski to pass through.
Then St. Mark's unofficially in 4th place ahead of 5th place Miami. And then it's going to be Utah finishing in 6th place. Business in the front, party in the back for Marin coming down the race course and winning that semifinal B of the men's youth quad. And we're going to see the women next, Colleen, on the race course in this same boat class, the women's youth quad. And we're going to see it all the way down the track as you get a picture of our start line. Why don't you set the field for us?
Out of lane 1, it's South Jersey. Out of lane 2, Camp Randall out of Madison, Wisconsin. Then over lane 3, Y Quad Cities, famous for their sculling program. Out of lane 4, it's Cambridge Boat Club, also with great scullers. Lane 5, White Marsh, and lane 6, Connecticut. And these athletes are off. This is the women's youth quad, semifinal number A. 3 to advance to the grand final. Tightly packed field as we move across, and it looks like South Jersey had a nice start. Y Quad Cities as well. Cambridge too. I mean, these crews really tightly packed in the first 250.
Amazing overhead drone picture. You see all 6 crews. They're all still connected. Y Quad Cities, a very long tradition of winning gold medals in this women's youth quad. But your top qualifier coming in, and the winner of our time trial yesterday, is Cambridge in lane 4. and they only won it by 0.4 seconds. It was one of the most tightly packed fields in terms of finish times in the time trial of any of our boat classes or events at these 2021 U.S. Rowing Youth National Regatta. And out in front is Cambridge early, but look at it. Everybody in the picture, everybody connected. The only one who maybe doesn't have connection on first place Cambridge at the moment is the boat in lane 2 from Camp Randall, but we're still so early on. Anybody could get into it and put themselves in a qualifying position. Again, top 3, that's our progression. This is semifinal A of the women's youth quad, and Cambridge is slightly out in front, and then it's so close. On the outside, Connecticut Boat Club, Y Quad Cities in lane 3. You can see they're basically trading punches.
Yeah, Cambridge now stroke by stroke starting to walk away. Connecticut, though, out of lane 6, not quite letting them get too far away. But a good start from Cambridge. And now as we see they move through 500 meters down, that they're starting to make their mark. And the time up on the screen there, 1:40.7. Then Y Quad City is running second, and over to Connecticut. So taking a look then as they move through the second quarter of the race and as these times kind of shake out, we'll get a better sense of the field in just a moment, but certainly Cambridge on the move, Connecticut right there with them, and Y Quad Cities running second, Connecticut running third.
So Y Quad Cities starting to assert themselves just a little bit. I think they were in third place for a bit of time behind Connecticut, who was sitting in second, but now it's certainly Y Quad Cities sitting in second place in that gold boat at the top of your picture on the right. But they are trailing Cambridge. And then closest to the picture, the black boat with the sort of volt-colored unisuits is Connecticut Boat Club. And you saw that connected with them is the boat from White Marsh in the adjacent lane 5. So it's still anyone's race here, and we do not have a very clear leader. I mean, obviously out in front continues to be Cambridge, but it's maybe by about 10 feet over Y Quad Cities. Y Quad Cities maybe showing the most speed at this point in the race course, or the most momentum. Connecticut Boat Club trying to go with those two. It might be a slight broken overlap between Cambridge and Connecticut, and then it's back to, you see that bow of White Marsh with those green blades in the white boat. They still have connection there on Connecticut Boat Club. So those are your 4 boats. The 2 on the left side of the screen you're seeing is Camp Randall and South Jersey. They are locked in a battle for 5th and 6th at the moment. Can their battle back and forth find them a little speed to try to get into the mix? But as they come through 1,000, we'll see exactly where the times shake out. It's Cambridge in front of Y Quad Cities and Connecticut.
Yeah, and a nice race from Cambridge thus far. They've been able to get out ahead, not quite breaking into open water, but able to maintain their position. In fact, margins for our 3 leaders, that's Cambridge, Y Quad Cities, and Connecticut, for the past couple of 100 meters have been really consistent. So you can get, you see that shot of Cambridge leading Y Quad Cities by about a half a length. We can see just barely the bow of Connecticut on the left side of your screen poking in. That's 1, 2, and 3. It's 3 to advance. The battle between Cambridge and Y Quad Cities, though, is pushing them away from the rest of the field. You can tell, David, just how badly Y Quad Cities wants to get their bow ahead of Cambridge.
They do. So Cambridge just edged them out in the time trial yesterday, but again, that was not side-by-side racing. And Y Quad Cities, they have decided they want to show the rest of the field that their third 500 is not to be matched by the rest of this field. They have now taken the lead for the first time in this semifinal A of the women's youth quad. Has Y Quad Cities. They're in that gold boat with the white visors, and the blades are red and white. And as I told you, I think they've won this event several years running. They traditionally and every year, no matter the athletes, continue to show that they are the team to beat in the women's quad at the youth level. And regardless of what happened yesterday in the time trial, although I told you that the field was very close in the finish times, they've decided that they want to send a charge into it. They want to show Cambridge maybe that they have more speed, and that they shouldn't hang their hats on that time trial win yesterday.
Yeah, nice press from Y Quad Cities to have them leading this semifinal. Again, 3 to advance, so it's Y Quad Cities, Cambridge running second, and it's Connecticut running third. Then over to White Marsh and Camp Randall and South Jersey. Y Quad Cities continuing to hold that first place position. And if you're Y Quad Cities in Cambridge, you're probably feeling quite comfortable with your lead. The name of the game here then is just to hold on to that and maintain that position. Connecticut, though, will have to be a little bit careful to make sure they can hold on to third.
White Marsh really charging into Connecticut. Those two boats separated by 5 feet as they're in the last 500 meters, and whoever comes out on top between the two will be in our A final. It's Y Quad Cities, 3/4 of a length right now as they have moved through Cambridge. It is White Marsh trying to push. It's Connecticut Boat Club. White Marsh maybe striking a little bit higher stroke rating than Connecticut Boat Club. Here we go. It's back and forth between those two crews. They're on your screen. This is as good as it gets. This is a 2021 U.S. Rowing Youth National Regatta here at Nathan Benderson Park. It's Y Quad Cities, half a length over Cambridge, and then it's going to come down to it. It's going to be a photo finish, or very close there too, between the outside Connecticut and White Marsh. Who's going to get into the A final?
Doing everything they can. White Marsh is making a press. It looks like they may have an advantage over Connecticut. We'll know more as these athletes get closer to the line. Certainly such a press from White Marsh to do everything they can. The time is now, right? This is the last chance to get into that A final, and White Marsh just hit the pedal to the metal. It's continuing to be, though, Y Quad Cities to hold, then Cambridge, and looking like White Marsh coming through then ahead of Connecticut. Connecticut running fourth.
What a move from White Marsh. I mean, they stayed patient, and I guess they just knew that they had the speed in the last 250, and they really flipped the script there on Connecticut. Connecticut is going to just be edged out, and they will be in our B final to contest places 7 through 12 in the nation. Coming across the line there is Camp Randall and South Jersey. So that was semifinal A of the women's youth quad. Semifinal B is about to be on the race course. You can see them all sitting ready, so I suspect they're going to start very shortly. Let me set the field for you. In lane 1 is Texas Center. Lane 2 is Founders. Lane 3, Y Quad Cities B Boat. Lane 4, Redwood Scullers. Lane 5, Maritime. And closest to the picture here, the horizontal picture, is Long Beach Juniors in lane 6.
And we'll get a sense of these athletes as we get a little bit closer. David, I've been thinking about Texas, all of these entries from Texas, and how they, it's impossible that they haven't gotten a surge of adrenaline with the NCAA result that I know you and Mary Whipple were commentating live last weekend, but it's a good time to be a rower from Texas.
It is. And, I think that if we're going to talk about what's happened this year and within the last year and a half for all these athletes, Texas is a place where there may be a little bit more water time relative to other places. You have crews here that are from the Northeast and Northwest or, Midwest where it gets much colder. Texas, they really have the opportunity to be out there a little bit more. And so does that come into play? You never really know. Sometimes these athletes that are having to spend more time on land get stronger and they don't need as much water time to find speed. But look at this picture. All 6 boats in our picture early here in semifinal B of the women's youth quad. Maybe out in front, very close between Maritime and the gold boat with the pink and blue unisuits, and just above them on the picture, Redwood Scullers in lane 4. But it's so early and it's so close, and everybody separated by maybe 25 feet here as they come through our first 500 meters.
Yeah, it's a nice look for Maritime and Redwood Scullers as they move through the first quarter of the race. Just a great shot then as they move into the second quarter of the race, into the middle 1,000. Maritime and Redwood leading. Y Quad Cities right with them. Maybe only Founders a little bit off the pace. Texas as well. Again, Texas, the winners of the NCAA championship last weekend in the women's 8 and across the team. But it is Redwood Scullers currently leading first, then Maritime second, and Texas running third.
So I don't know if this Texas squad, the youth squad, says all right when they launch, but they're right in the mix here. You were talking about it. We're seeing a lot more fast rowing from the state of Texas generally, and looking like they want to take the lead now and doing it relatively well, and by a little bit more than a deck. There is lane 4, Redwood Scullers, and it looks like the B boat of Y Quad City, so showing the depth. We just saw their A boat win that first semifinal. It's Y Quad City sitting in second place, coming through 750. Their B boat in this B semifinal of the women's youth quad, and dropping to third place is that gold boat from Maritime.
Redwood Scullers then with a nice press after the first 500 meters, about 700 meters down, to currently lead the pack. A great shot then of Redwood out of lane 4. Then it's over to lane 3, Y Quad Cities, and you can just see the bow of Maritime running third. But Redwood really asserting themselves in the body of the race. You can see their bow seat in this quad, just looking over her right shoulder to get a sense of exactly where that margin is. And then it's back to the rest of the field. So starting to separate a little bit. Now is the time in the race that if you're one of these trailing crews and you know that you need to do something special to advance, you want to do it sooner than later so that you're not waiting for that last 500-meter stretch. We'll see what they get up to in the third 500.
And you see how close it is. Y Quad Cities closing the gap even on Redwood Scullers that Redwood decided to take the lead at 500. Now it's essentially whoever's in the water is ahead between Redwood Scullers and Y Quad Cities B. And just like we saw from Y Quad Cities A in the previous semifinal, they believe in their race plan, and their race plan is to try to find a speed that they can maintain in this middle 1,000, and they think it's going to be faster than everyone else, and that's what's happened. It is Y Quad Cities B actually in front now of Redwood Scullers, taking the lead for the first time. On the left side of your screen, you see that gold boat, that's Maritime. They do appear to be sitting in third place still, but you can see how close it is even with Long Beach Juniors in lane 6, maybe 15 feet behind Maritime right now. So it's not comfortable for these boats as they come through this third 500 physically and about to be mentally, because when they come into that sign with 500 meters to go, and it's just back and forth between Redwood Scullers and Y Quad Cities out in front. It is almost as close between Maritime and Long Beach Juniors, as well as all the way up there in lane 1, Texas Center.
I mean, I think that's right. In so many of these races, we've seen quite large margins right between the qualifying boats and the rest of the field. That's not really the case. Like, yes, of course, there are margins here, as we're seeing, right? There's some clear water between the leaders and then back to lane 5, which is Maritime, and then up to our front runners. But it's still pretty tightly packed, and I think a lot can change. So uncomfortable is certainly physically how all of these athletes are feeling, but certainly no one has it for sure now. We'll start to see how the last stretch breaks out.
Long Beach Junior maybe level, maybe even slightly now ahead of Maritime. So Maritime up to 1,500 meters really was sitting in a qualifying position for the A final. Are they going to be able to punch back at Long Beach Juniors? Look at that. Straight from the side, they are dead level, as are Redwood Scullers and Y Quad Cities out in front, and you're seeing that in the times that are coming through. Can Texas Center on the outside find some speed and get into the mix? It's going to come right down to it for these 3 spots, though, because look at this battle between Maritime and Long Beach Juniors, an epic battle that will be remembered for the rest of these athletes' lives. Who's going to get into it? And you know what, Colleen? That battle is pushing them into the leaders as well.
Oh, I have Redwood up at about 37 strokes per minute, 36, 37. It looks like they just took some kind of a shift up, and totally agree. I mean, look at the rest of the field just charging. Maritime still maintaining contact. Long Beach Junior, it is the race for third at the moment, 3 to qualify to the final.
Yikes. Out in front, this is a photo finish for first and second. And if it stopped right now, it'd be a photo finish for third and fourth. Maritime, Long Beach Juniors. Out in front, it's Redwood Scullers and Y Quad Cities B. Who's it going to be? Maybe Redwood Scullers a slight advantage right now. Maybe they found just a little bit of a power move there. But it's going to come right down to it. Long Beach maybe getting ahead now of Maritime. Can Long Beach track down Y Quad Cities B? Can Maritime find it in the last 10 strokes? Right down to the line. One of the best semifinals we've seen all morning. This is semifinal B of the women's youth quad. Unofficially, it's going to be Redwood Scullers ahead of Y Quad Cities B. Unofficially, Long Beach Juniors by a deck over Maritime. Heartbreak for Maritime. Maritime will finish ahead of Texas Center, and Founders are 2 crews from Texas in this semifinal.
What a sprint from Long Beach Juniors out of lane 6 to put themselves into that position just over Maritime. We'll have times here in just a moment. Redwood Scullers 6:57.4. Again, these quads go fast. And followed by Y Quad. But for now, we have a start. We're up at the top of the men's youth straight 4. This is the Bolus School out of lane 1. It's Bellin Jesuit out of lane 2. PNRA/Mercer lane 3. Greenwich lane 4. Local favorite Sarasota Crew out of lane 5. And Wilson High School lane 6.
So 3 Florida boats in the Bowles School in lane 1, Belen Jesuit in lane 2, and Sarasota Crew in lane 5. They know the race course, but this is a new event, Colleen, the straight 4, and we're seeing a lot more of these 4s without coxswain at the World Championship level, at the Olympic level. It's a huge race, and here they come. So there's no coxswain. These boats go tremendously fast because they are not having to lug around that dead weight of the coxswain in the bow of the boat, and we'll see what they want to do in these first 500 meters. We see a quick start out of Belen Jesuit, the gold boat in lane 2. They are known for that. I have watched this crew come up over the past decade. They put together very fast boats. It's a very small boys-only school in South Florida, and they always start quick, and that's exactly what we're seeing here in the first 150 meters from Belen Jesuit. But everybody's in the picture, which means everybody's in the mix.
Yeah, something in the 40s, certainly off the line, 44, 45 strokes per minute, not quite a full stroke, so some kind of a technique from that school, from the Belen Jesuit, to get out ahead really fast and just bolt off the line. And of course, now we see that they're at full slide. They've lengthened back out. But there certainly is an advantage to being first off the line, right? And just having that good start, building that momentum. It's definitely a confidence boost. That's what they've done. They'll need to keep an eye out, though, for Greenwich out of lane 4 and Sarasota lane 5. And really the Bowles School over in lane 1 as well. You can just see how tightly packed this field is, perhaps with Wilson, the exception, just running about a length behind.
So that's a picture of Wilson there in lane 6 with the green blades. But you can see even Wilson has a connection with, it looks like, the 5th place and 4th place boats, which I think at the moment are Mercer and the Bowles School. So everybody is there. They're going to have to find different relative speeds. It does look like at 500 meters, it's Belen Jesuit by maybe a seat over the boat from Greenwich, and then it's maybe Sarasota Crew and Bowles and PNRA Mercer. You'll see the times come through. You see just how close it is. It's like 2 seconds separating the top 5. And so what's going to happen in this middle 1,000 is really probably going to mostly decide the race. Are these other crews going to start to track down Belen Jesuit, which we're already seeing out of the 2 boats there in lanes 4 and 5, which are Greenwich and Sarasota Crew. So you have a couple of Scholastic boats in lanes 1, 2, and 6, and then you have some big youth programs in lanes 3, 4, and 5 with Mercer, Greenwich, and Sarasota Crew, some traditional youth team powerhouses as they come through 750. It looks like we've got a new leader. It looks like Greenwich is out in front.
Greenwich at about 37 strokes per minute, 36 strokes per minute in the body of the race. A nice shot of the crew that is closest to us, or one of the crews closest to us, Sarasota Crew, and a good aerial shot then of our leaders. You can see Greenwich out of lane 4 currently leading the pack, and Belen Jesuit, who is so quick off the line, falling back just a little bit, but really keeping themselves in it. So you see that bow 2, that's Belen Jesuit. Leading, though, is Greenwich, and just nice timing from that crew. I mean, you can see how their technique and the skill is working for them. The question becomes, with the rest of the field pressing into them, can they hold this lead? Second half of the race, 1,000 down.
So we'll see the splits come through. It's Greenwich by a length, and then it's dead level between Belen Jesuit, Sarasota Crew, and then only a couple of feet behind the 2 of them is that boat from, looks like Mercer. So you can see on the splits, those 3 boats that I mentioned for only 2 spots in the grand final are separated by about a half a second. Mercer came in with your 4th best qualifying time, and maybe they've decided that their first 1,000 they just kind of want to stay in it, and then they're going to show the rest of the field their speed in the second 1,000 as they start to kind of inch into, and you see unbelievable, just super close race here for places 2 through 4. And one of them's going to get left out. Closest to the camera is Sarasota Crew. In between them is PNRA Mercer, and at the top is Belen Jesuit. And you can see the bikes up there on the west side of the race course. They're following along are the athletes and coaches in that peloton. The only thing we know right now is that Greenwich has a pretty commanding lead.
Yeah, and Greenwich definitely with a commanding lead. For a moment, we had a nice shot of the Sarasota crew as well. Some great power there. As these athletes then come through just about the last quarter or so of the race, we'll get a sense for exactly where they are. But no doubt about it, Greenwich. And then this is a look at bows 2 and 3. Belen Jesuit out of bow 2, then PNRA/Mercer bow 3, and Sarasota leading them. So Greenwich is out of the screen. They're up in the front. Then it looks like Sarasota running second and just so close for third.
Oh man, they're going to wind it up, Colleen, are these boats, and it could be anybody finishing in places 2 through 4. It could be literally any permutation of these 3 boats that are in it. It's Sarasota Crew, it's Mercer, it's Belen Jesuit at 500 to go. That's the order at 500 to go, all separated by about 2 seconds total at that point. So Greenwich is out in front. This beautiful flat water here at Nathan Benderson Park. You're going to see very fast, close to 6-minute times probably from these athletes as they come down. And it's Greenwich out in front, but it's Sarasota Crew that's starting to get tracked down again here by Mercer and Belen Jesuit. Belen Jesuit pretty high all the way down the race course. I had him at 37 in the body of the race. That is how they race, and they are absolutely set up for that not to matter, and they will go very high here at the finish. Can Sarasota Crew hang on to a spot? It looks like Mercer and Belen Jesuit might have gotten through Sarasota Crew.
And keeping an eye then, here comes Greenwich at about 37 or so strokes per minute. But yes, the rest of the field just not too far off of them, right? They're holding that open water lead. But Belen Jesuit, PNRA, Mercer, it is Sarasota that will have to do everything they can. Local favorite, friends and family on shore, I'm sure, are urging them and cheering them on. But Greenwich on their way. And then look at these 3 boats fighting for those other 2 positions. PNRA, Mercer holding their own. It's Belen Jesuit. Sarasota, though, David, it'll take something special, I think. So close.
Yeah, I think Sarasota's gonna move through. It's gonna be very close there at the line between Sarasota and Mercer. Almost a photo finish for second and third. Maybe unofficially I'll give it to Sarasota Crew. And they did what they had to do there. So Greenwich, just a start to finish dominant row. Sarasota Crew really got challenged there. It wasn't just the angle. They really were starting to get challenged by Belen and Mercer, and they went, and they hung on to it. Unofficially second place ahead of Mercer. It looks like Belen Jesuit, your early leader, maybe just slightly edged out in 4th place. Then the Bowles School and Wilson High School. So that was semifinal A of the men's youth straight four without coxswain. The next race on the race course will be the B semifinal of the same boat class event, the men's youth straight 4. In lane 1 will be Mile High out of Colorado. Lane 2, Maritime. Lane 3, Row America Rye. Lane 4, Oars. Lane 5, St. Joseph's Prep. And in lane 6, Newport. And we're on the race course with those boats. You're seeing in the picture, it looks like a nice start there from Row America Rye, Colleen.
Yeah, good press from Row America Rye. They posted a nice time yesterday, although Oars was just a little bit faster than them, I want to say, by about a second. So we'll be keeping an eye on those 2 in particular. But a good jump out. You can see Oars with the bow number 4, and it's Row America Rye with that slight advantage. Then over to St. Joe's Prep, another great program, Mile High. Then Maritime and Newport Beach. A look at our 2 leaders. It is Row America Rye holding on by about a half a bow deck, with Oars keeping that distance right with them, right, keeping that connection with their shell. 3 to advance as always this morning with the progression, and it's looking right now like Row America Rye, Oars, and then over to lane 1, Mile High keeping their bow in it as well.
Yeah, and you're seeing just in the picture there is lane 5, St. Joe's Prep as well. And in fact, St. Joe's Prep, it's the angle. I think they are sitting in 3rd place at the moment, but it's probably just slightly over that boat that you mentioned from Mile High all the way up there in lane 1. So the picture right here, bow card 5, that's St. Joe's Prep out of Philadelphia. And, well, at least very close to Boathouse Row on the Schuylkill. And then it's at the top of the screen, that is Mile High out of Colorado. And then in between them, that bow card 2 is the boat from Maritime out of Connecticut. So again, we're seeing so many different regions of the country represented, and you're getting the shot here across at 1,000. We'll start to see the crews come through, and out in front, it continues to be It looks like the boat from Oars just slightly ahead of the boat from PNRA Mercer, and that's how they qualified from Row America Rye. That's how they qualified coming into this semifinal. And you can see they're separated by 0.2 of a second, Colleen. And then we've got a 1 second race between St. Joe's and Mile High.
Yeah, they were separated by 1 second in the time trials, Oars and Row America Rye. And their times were a good, 7 or so seconds ahead of the rest of the field. So I think what we can expect is those two front runners to really have kind of their own battle up at the top of the pack. That's what's happening right now. Oars has put themselves in a position to row past Row America Rye. The name of the game is to advance to the top three. Of course, there's always pride on the line, and who doesn't love to race when you're neck and neck with another shell? So even though they are in a qualifying position, especially with the year we've had with COVID, everyone's just absolutely thrilled to be out here racing, and it's a real privilege to be able to line up against other teams. So Oars and Row America Rye are having their own battle in the front. The question then becomes who will take that coveted third place position.
All right, and I want to make it clear because I was a little confused and wanted to look it up. This is Orlando Area Rowing Society Oars. There's also an Oars program that has an entry at this regatta out of Albany, New York. So there's two teams at the youth level that are called Oars. This is the Orlando Oars. They're a length out ahead of PNRA Mercer. And then look at it. It's 10 feet separating three boats here. It's lane 2, which is Maritime. It's lane 5, St. Joe's Prep. Lane 6, Newport. Newport, obviously a long tradition of fast rowing in sweep rowing, especially on the men's side. So are they going to get into the mix? I think it's going to come down to it yet again for that third spot in the grand final, Colleen. But it is a full length out in front for the Orlando Area Rowing Society, knowing this race course very well, ahead of that very solid second place Princeton National Rowing Association Mercer boat in lane 3. Those are the two boats on the right side of your screen. And then as we pan over, you're going to see just how close it is. They're in the last 350. Who's going to take third place?
Yeah, nice press from Oars. Row America Rye keeping themselves in it. About 30 strokes or so ago, I thought Oars would really break into open water, but Row America Rye, to their credit, they're just not letting that happen. You can see them keeping their bow right on the stern. 3 to advance. Oars is in the right spot. Row America Rye is in the right spot, and it looks like Maritime really wants to go with them. Keeping an eye on Mile High. Credit to Mile High over in lane 1. Didn't have one of the fastest times by a long shot here in this group, but they've been able to really hold their own with some aggressive racing. As they come through the line, though, Oars, Row America, and Maritime making their way towards that A final.
And I keep saying PNRA Mercer, it's Row America Rye, so I apologize to all the Row America Rye fans out there. It's Row America Rye sitting in second place behind Oars. It's going to be Oars winning the semifinal B of the men's youth straight 4 ahead of Row America Rye, and then it looks like it's going to be Maritime in those blue jerseys in lane 2 that's going to take the third spot in the grand final, just ahead of Mile High, who will finish in 4th place, coming all the way from Colorado. And then it's going to be, photo finish between Newport and St. Joe's Prep at our finish line to finish out that boat class, the men's youth straight 4. And now we're going to be on to the women's version.
On to the women's youth straight 4 indeed. So that's the 10:04 race. We're back up at the start. Lane 1, it's TriStar. Lane 2, Sarasota. Lane 3, PNRA Mercer. Lane 4, Miami Beach. Lane 5, Greenwich. And lane 6, Camp Randall. We have a start, looks like a quick start, and of course always tightly packed off the line, or generally speaking. We'll get a sense of exactly who our front runners are here in a moment for the women's youth straight 4.
So we're seeing a new competitor, newer team, TriStar Lane 1 out of Knoxville, Tennessee. I assume that the TriStar refers to the Tennessee flag, as you get our drone picture as they come through the first 150 meters in the semifinal A of the women's straight 4. And Miami Beach in lane 4 was your top qualifier. They won the time trial by about 4 seconds over the second place finisher, which we'll see in the second semifinal, which was Row America Rye. So Rye showing really just how dominant that program has been across the board, both men and women. We'll see them in the next semifinal. But right now it is Miami Beach out in front, so they've showed that time trial is for real. Also in lane 1 is TriStar, that team I mentioned from Knoxville, Tennessee. They're just behind Miami Beach as they come through. So those are the two that are out in front. And again, we have a tightly packed field. Maybe third place is that boat in lane 3 from PNRA Mercer that kept throwing me off when I was looking at my schedule for the last one. So those are your top 3, it looks like. And trying to push in the mix is that Blue Shell in lane 5 from Greenwich as well.
Yeah, and just a nice press here in the first half of the race from Miami Beach. No surprise, as we said, they had a really nice time yesterday. I would wager that they will just continue to expand their lead in this semifinal. We'll get a sense of what the middle thousand looks like for them in a moment. But if you're in that shell, you might not even really put on a show or put on a sprint because you might not need to, right? Conserve that energy for the final. So it is Miami Beach then out ahead. It's TriStar running second, followed by PNRA Mercer running third. And a great look here at just how tightly packed the field is behind Miami Beach, and an overhead shot as well. So 3 to advance, and Miami Beach well on their way.
So this has been the pattern so far. It seems like the most consistent pattern we've seen is that there are 3 boats for 2 spots behind kind of a leader, and that's exactly what we're seeing yet again. That boat closest to the picture, that's a boat from Greenwich, and you can see those women really throwing their backs into it, trying to put the power on. You see on the left side of the screen that Sarasota crew with the trademark pink hats. I don't even have to basically glance at it to know that that's Sarasota crew. But Greenwich is right there with those other 2. So and you saw the times at 500 meters. There's about a second or second and a half separating places 2 through 4, which are currently Mercer, Greenwich, and TriStar, with Sarasota crew trying to get into the mix. But it does look like TriStar may be dropping off just a little bit. They had a great start, and now it's stroke for stroke between Greenwich and Mercer for second and third. And what's going to happen? Can TriStar continue to find speed? Can they hold on to an overlap, maybe put on a big finish? Is Sarasota crew going to get into the mix? They're sitting in 5th place. 6th place is the boat in lane 6 from Camp Randall.
And a nice look at the PNRA Mercer shell, and then back to lane 5. That's the Greenwich shell. Miami Beach, no doubt they are first across into the second half of the race in that lovely blue boat. And then just behind them, it's looking like Greenwich and PNRA Mercer are holding on to those two other positions, those 2 qualifying positions. At this point, we'll take something special from TriStar to move themselves up. Sarasota as well. There's still time as they move into the second half of the race, but starting to run out of water just a little bit. So Miami well on their way. I think the question becomes, what is up TriStar's sleeve in Sarasota as well? Camp Randall, of course, not to be left out over in lane 6.
Yeah, so can any of these crews close the gap? It does look like maybe Greenwich has decided they want to just sneak ahead of Mercer here, but as soon as I say that, I look back and Mercer's right there. So this is another just tremendous match race that we've got going on, and it's right on your picture. You can see all those athletes matched up. Stroke for stroke are those 2 boats. It's Mercer on the top. It's Greenwich closest to the picture as they come through 1250. You see that sign. You see a couple of bikes up there, maybe coaches or parents or siblings of these athletes following them down our race course here at Nathan Benderson Park. You still see beautiful flat water. We're seeing fast times all morning here in these semifinals. Top 3 are going to move through. Right now you're looking at the battle for second and third place, and that battle really has paced them away from the rest of the field. It looks like, Colleen, like you said, it's going to take something really special in the last 500 for these other crews. Sarasota crew in lane 2, TriStar, who's sitting in 4th place in lane 1, to try to get into a qualifying spot.
Yeah, and I think what's a little bit unique about this semifinal, maybe more than some of the others that we've seen, is that there's a bit more variance across the times that were posted yesterday. So I think we're kind of seeing that shake up, that there's just a little bit more margin between these crews, and may well not be the case, but don't think we'll have as tight of a finish perhaps as we've seen. Miami Beach, again, well on their way with that lead up in front. Then it's Greenwich and PNRA Mercer, and again, keeping an eye on TriStar and Sarasota to see if they can press themselves into that 3rd place position. But for now, it looks like those will decidedly be our 3: Miami Beach, Greenwich, PNRA Mercer, and just so much power coming out of that Miami shell.
Cooler than the other side of the pillow for Miami Beach. really in a driver's seat position, as comfortable as it could possibly be for them right now. They won the time trial, and again, they're showing, and they're going to try to lay down a time, put themselves in a favored lane for that A final on Sunday to try to win a national championship here on Florida water is Miami Beach. And it really could come down. It's going to come down to the last 30 strokes for second place between Mercer and Greenwich. But those two boats do have open water. Now your fourth place boat is Sarasota Crew. But I think they really just don't have enough water to track down these other two. Sarasota Crew now is ahead of TriStar and then Camp Randall in that order. But it's a blue boat of Miami Beach out in front. And like I said, as comfortable as it could be, or enjoying it as much as they possibly can, is Miami Beach. And it's going to come right down to it. Looks like Greenwich may be slightly ahead of Mercer. But here we go. Last 10 strokes for those crews.
And not like they need to, but I think we're seeing a nice sprint from Miami Beach at the moment. You can see that they've brought the stroke rate up just a little bit higher. We see their bow seat just looking over her shoulder to see where is the finish line. And they're almost there. So they're up at about 39 strokes per minute or so. Didn't need to sprint, but executed it. It's another chance to execute that race plan and to get it in. And then coming out of lane 5, that is the Greenwich crew, then over to lane 3, PNRA Mercer. Those three in the women's youth straight 4 will advance to the final.
With the remaining boats, Sarasota Crew coming across the line. Looks like they will finish in 4th place ahead of Camp Randall and TriStar. Those 3 boats will be in the B final to contest places 7 through 12 in the nation in the women's youth straight 4. And we're getting ready for semifinal B of the women's youth straight 4. And I'll set the field for you. In lane 1 is SA. Lane 2 is Winter Park. Lane 3 is Row America Rye B. Lane 4 is Row America Rye A. Lane 5, Newport. Lane 6, Triad United. So, looking at this one coming in, obviously you have 2 teammate boats right next to one another, Colleen, and they finished 2-3 in the time trial yesterday. So, just tremendous. Obviously, they know the other athletes in the boat next to them extremely well, and you're seeing a shot of 500 meters, and we'll see where they stand as they come through that 500 meter point. But tremendous for Row America Rye to have 2 boats finish in the top 4 of the time trial yesterday.
It's like a sibling rivalry a little bit, I think, when you're in this position with your own teammates. Of course, you want the whole team to do well, but these are fiercely competitive athletes. So I think there's a little bit of almost sibling rivalry here. But yeah, a great day for Row America Rye. If you're coaching that program, that's got to feel pretty good. And currently, those 2 boats are leading with Newport running 3rd. That's the time. Those are the times at 500 meters down the first quarter of the race. Bow number 4, one of the Row America Rye shells, starting to press themselves out, and such a battle between these teammates. You see the matching unisuits. They are side by side. They've been training together, all spring and summer, I'm sure. And currently, it's the Row America Rye bow number 4 with just an edge over bow 3.
Right, and if you're sitting in that bow 3 boat, whatever you're seeing from the bow 4 boat is probably not surprising you in any way. Again, these athletes probably had to race against one another to be in either the bow 4 or the bow 3 boat throughout the season and leading up to this U.S. Rowing Youth National Regatta. As they come through 750, you can see just how much speed this program has in Row America Rye, because guess what? It's open water for those 2 out in front, back to 3rd place Newport, who's coming into the picture now in lane 5. And then behind Newport, it's really everybody still in it there. Winter Park, St. Andrew, Triad from High Point, North Carolina in lane 6. Another sort of newer program on this level of the youth rowing scene. And you can see on that picture, so you see the 2 boats out in front, both Row America Rye boats. Then you see Newport sitting in 3rd place, kind of at the bottom of the picture. And then just how close it is between Winter Park and St. Andrew up in lanes 1 and 2.
Yeah, really nice racing, and of course they're side by side. Pretty consistent margins. The Row America Rye bow number 4 clearly has taken a couple seats, a little bit of water as they cross through into the second half. But credit to the Row America Rye boat out of lane 3, not letting them get away. Those are our 2 front runners at the moment, and then it's over to Newport holding 3rd. So pretty consistent margins in the first 1,000. we'll see what the second 1,000 brings, but it's 3 to advance. And this race, of course, determining who will join the top 3 from the last race, which is PNAR Mercer. That was Miami Beach with a great performance, and Greenwich. So we know who's in that A final. The athletes in this race, of course, don't know who has qualified for that A final because they were up at the start when the prior race finished. So it'll be news to them. For now, though, Row America Rye out of lane 4. David, it looks like they just want to break away, but they can't shake lane 3.
They can't shake their teammates. Can the Row America Rye A boat in lane 4? And coming through 1250, 750 meters left. What are we going to see between those two is going to be kind of interesting. Obviously, we've got a race here going on where Winter Park's trying to track down Newport for that third qualifying position. Newport on the bottom of your screen in the white boat. Or center of your screen, they are sitting with about a half a length advantage on Winter Park, which is not insurmountable in the last 600 meters. So we'll keep an eye on Winter Park and see if they can try to close the gap. But I kind of want to know up front, is the B boat going to try to challenge the A boat here at the finish line? Is the A boat going to put on their finish? You would like to think that if they both sort of know, because they're in a comfortable position, that they're going to move through, that they don't have to race at all tomorrow, that we're going to see finishes from both of them, and that's kind of what I'm hoping, but you never really know as they come down.
Yeah, just a nice look. I mean, they're just fiercely competitive with each other. You can see all of their heads turning to look at the other boat, making sure that they're doing everything they can to have their bow on the side that they want it to be on. And then just such margin, right, then to the rest of the field. So that kind of competition going on between Row America Rye has pushed them ahead of the rest of the field. They're a couple seconds apart. Newport still holding their own in that third place position. And if you're Newport, you just want to cruise here, but not not allow Winter Park or St. Andrews to get too close to you. So it's a bit of a game, right? You're looking for that threshold where you can put in just enough effort to comfortably qualify without really overexerting yourself, knowing that the final is coming. The exception, though, notably might be Row America Rye, David, because I think they're having a full-blown race up at the front.
They are. They are not holding back. Are these 8 women from New York? It's Row America Rye lane 4, slightly ahead of Row America Rye lane 3, who maybe even closing the gap a little bit is the B boat. They are pushing so hard, and it's Newport with a commanding third place, but you can see the gap. We can't even see Newport in the picture here on our screen. It is dead level up front between these two Row America Rye boats. They are going at one another. Is the B boat maybe even slightly ahead at the moment? It's going to come right down to it. What a tremendous showing from Row America Rye, this program. It's Newport in third place. I don't think Winter Park's going to be able to track them down. They're sitting in fourth place.
And it looks like maybe something's going on in one of the Row America Rye shells with the stroke seat. It looks like some kind of a breakage situation potentially, but it looks like they might have still earned their spot into that final just with the margin that they had. But unfortunate conclusion of the race for the lane 4 Row America Rye boat into their final stroke, still in a qualifying position. So certainly advantage to getting out ahead and staying ahead in the event of these types of things. And then running third, it is lane 5 Newport, those 3 to qualify through.
This is a very rare occurrence, Colleen, but you mentioned it. This is a great example of why you put the effort in all the way down the race course, because Row America Rye in lane 4, the A boat, they were out in front the whole way ahead of their teammates, but they built such a big lead that even though the stroke woman didn't race for the last 25 strokes, they still put themselves through regardless of whatever was going on with the physical boat in that race. Unbelievable. Newport is going to finish third unofficially and move through. And we get ourselves geared up and ready for the men's youth 8, the first semifinal. These are the fastest boats you're going to see on the water. These are our first 8s that we have seen so far today. It's 8 rowers and a coxswain, 6 boats across. I'll set the field furthest from the camera on the shot. Lane 1 is Whitman. Lane 2 is Row America Rye. Lane 3, Greenwich. Lane 4 is St. Joe's Prep, your time trial winner by a whopping 0.2 seconds. Lane 5, Newport. Lane 6, NorCal.
And a beautiful shot then. You can see the athletes gaining their point. So you can see the oars in the bow pair especially, right? Just the coxswain instructing them just to touch a little bit to make sure that they have the straightest point possible. But they are sitting ready at attention, so we should have a start underway any moment. Little bit of point adjustments.
Yeah, if you've
here.
ever been at the start, especially in an eights race, there's a lot of commotion. There is a lot of noise. I always recommend, almost every rowing broadcast I've ever done, that if you have the opportunity to go in person to a rowing regatta, that you get your way to the start line so that you can see these boats go from dead stop to as fast as possible, as quickly as possible. That's exactly what you have in your picture. You have all 6 boats across. Again, St. Joe's Prep in lane 4 was your top qualifier. They won the time trial by 0.2 seconds, but all 12 boats that we're going to see in these semifinals, I think, were separated by under 10 seconds. It was such a close field in that time trial, and I think we could see anything out of all 12 of these 8s that we're going to see over these next 2 races. But early here, it is St. Joe's Prep out in front.
St. Joe's Prep had them at about a 43 in the first 30, 40 strokes or so. 250 meters in, this is where these athletes will start to lengthen out and move into their base cadence. But a great start for St. Joe's Prep. And then keeping an eye over on the far side lanes, a good start for Whitman, Greenwich as well. But St. Joe's Prep with that dominant lead.
So if you're in Pennsylvania, they just call them Prep. They're out in front. They're in that gold boat. It's St. Joe's out in front. As we hear, they have a lot of supporters down here at the finish line. They're 3/4 of a length ahead of that great start from Whitman. Whitman's still sitting in second place, maybe a seat over Greenwich. As they come through 500 and we start to see the splits, that is a big lead at 500 meters in an 8s race for St. Joe's right now. 124.4. They're going very fast. Looks like we're going to be sub 6 with a slight tailwind here at Nathan Benderson Park. You see Whitman 0.2 ahead of Greenwich, and Greenwich only 0.4 ahead of Newport. Newport, who has won this event several times in the last 10 years. And everybody is in the picture. Look at that blue boat from NorCal in lane 6. We're seeing their bow just kind of lick into the picture there. Everybody's in the mix, even the boat in lane 2 from Row America Rye. We'll see what they have in the middle 1,000. But right now it's all Prep.
It's all Prep, and we've got some Prep fans outside, I think, too. There's a lot of support there on shore for these guys. They do have just almost a length. You can see their coxswain looking over his left shoulder. Credit to Greenwich, though. Greenwich is on the move. The field's starting to thin out just a little bit at 750 meters down. St. Joe's leads, or the Prep, with Greenwich right behind them, but it's bow number 5, Newport, and Row America Rye on the other side out of lane 2, looking to make sure they stay in this. Top 3 to advance.
All right, so it was a good first 500 meters for Whitman. Now the Whitman coxswain's really got to check in with his rowers, and he's got to get the most out of them in this middle 1,000, because it does look like Newport is starting to push ahead of Whitman, maybe slightly, or at least pull level with Whitman for that 3rd place coveted spot. NorCal right in the mix. As they come through 1,000, you blink, you're going to miss them. It's 3/4 of a length for Prep ahead of Greenwich. Greenwich with half a length over Newport. Newport there with maybe a deck over NorCal and the boat from Whitman. Everybody still connected. Row America Rye, you cannot count them out. We've seen the depth of their program. We saw it with the women. We're going to see it with the men. And I think they won this championship 2 years ago. So they are still not to be counted out. But out in front, it is that gold boat from Prep, and they're trying to maintain that same lead that they had at 500 meters.
Greenwich on the move. Greenwich is on the move, and Row America Rye looking to put themselves into that 3rd place position. We'll look for Newport then out of lane 5. That's a shot of their bow. A little bit tricky with this angle, but Newport and Row America Rye, again, we want to keep an eye on those two to see which one is able to grab that 3rd place position. Greenwich starting to push into Prep, but Prep able to hold their own. And then a look at your screen, that was bow 6, and it's over to Newport in lane 5. Row America Rye looks like they're holding on to that 3rd place position. Greenwich running 2nd, Prep running 1st. These athletes now moving towards the last quarter of the race, 3 to advance to the A final.
Colleen, I'm keeping my eye on NorCal. They looked pretty controlled. They're right there with Newport on the outside and with Whitman all the way up there in lane 1. Everybody is there, but I feel like there might be some momentum from NorCal. I'm going to go ahead and call that ahead of time, and we'll see if it comes to fruition. But still sitting in 3rd place is Newport. But you see that bow of that blue boat of NorCal right next to him. 2 California boats going at it, along with Whitman all the way up there in lane 1 for that coveted 3rd spot that would put them in a grand final. As you see the times come through, it's Newport to NorCal. It's 1.1 seconds. between those three boats. So all we know out front, it continues to be Prep. They're trying to go start to finish. Out of lane 4, they were your time trial winner, barely. They are trying to hold off that boat from Greenwich in the adjacent lane 3, but here it goes for that third place spot. Even here comes Row America Rye. It's going to come right down to it yet again.
Yeah, Prep holds. Greenwich running second. The race is on for third. David, good call. It is NorCal is pushing up on the far side out of lane 6, closest to us on shore. St. Joe's holding. Greenwich with them. Will it be Newport? Will it be NorCal? We'll see if Row America Rye is able to make up any of that water, but so close as they come through.
Gold boat. That's St. Joseph's Prep out of Philadelphia. They're out in front. They have maybe only about a half a length right now on Greenwich, a hard-charging Greenwich. Greenwich may be the fastest boat on the water at the moment. Here comes Newport. Newport put a big move on there at 300 meters. They've gotten ahead of NorCal again. So it's Newport, and on the outside it's Whitman. Whitman right there. It's going to come again yet right down to the line. It's going to be St. Joe's Prep, start to finish. They're going to win semifinal A of the men's Youth 8, half a length ahead of Greenwich. And then unofficially, it's going to be Newport by about 3 feet over Whitman, and then about a half a length for Whitman ahead of NorCal with about a half a length over Row America Rye. Wow. It happened so quickly, and it's over. And it looks like unofficially we've got St. Joe's Prep, Greenwich, and Newport moving through to our A final in the men's Youth 8 as we go back down and set up the B semifinal.
And up at the top then out of lane 1, this is CRI, lane 2, Chicago, lane 3, Row, New Jersey, lane 4, PNRA Mercer, lane 5, Sarasota, and lane 6, Cincinnati Juniors. So we'll keep an eye for the start any moment. Semifinal B to determine who will join Greenwich, St. Joe's Prep, and Newport in the A final. What an incredible race. A great push from Greenwich as well in the last 750 or so. This will be a phenomenal final, and we'll know, within the next 10 minutes who will join them.
So 6 boats across, getting ready for another very fast semifinal in the men's Youth 8. We had a Scholastic crew, St. Joseph's Prep, win that first semifinal. We have 0 Scholastic crews in this semifinal. It's 6 big clubs, and here they go, charging off the line, going from 0 to 60 or from dead stop to as fast as they can go, as quickly as they can do it. Stroke ratings very high in the mid-40s in these 8s. A lot of commotion. They're taking, some shorter strokes to begin with to try to get the boat to speed. And a really, really quick start from CRI in lane 1 has them in the early lead, maybe at 150 here, but everybody connected. I love these shots from above. You can see all of these 8s in the picture. You see what it looks like for all of these athletes and just how quickly they're turning those oars around, Colleen, early in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's nice about this shot here in this first 250 is that CRI out of lane 1 had a fast start in Cincinnati Juniors as well. So in this case, it wasn't the center lanes that typically have posted the faster times earlier in the progression. It's really those outside lanes that are just being gutsy and getting out as fast as they can. Of course, the question is, can they hold on to that pace? CRI, though, bolted out Chicago. You can see in the black shell on the far side going with them, and then the aerial view. CRI still holding their own.
That's kind of what I was hoping for when I was remarking that there were 9 seconds separating these 12 boats, is that I figured you never really know, because now it's side-by-side racing, whereas yesterday in the time trial, as we see the times start to come through, it was straight down the race course with nobody next to you all the way down. And so it was more of a self-motivation situation. You figure such a tightly bunched field from that result yesterday is going to give us some tremendous racing in these semifinals. Is exactly what we're seeing. So CRI with the gutsy first 500 meters are out in front by a second over Chicago. And then look, everybody still in the mix, and those boats that were trailing early are starting to make it closer. This is perhaps our most competitive race to this point all the way through this morning, Colleen, but it's still CRI. They're in that white boat at the top. the red and black of CRI. They maintain a deck advantage on what looks like a really controlled row right now from Chicago. So I'm going to expect that Chicago is going to stay in the mix all the way down, but look how much closer everybody's getting.
Yeah, 750 meters down, and that's right. Just a nice long stroke out of Chicago. CRI still able to keep that advantage, but just barely, as the field, as you can see, right, is getting just tighter as the race progresses. We're nearing the halfway point, and a gorgeous shot here. I mean, look at this tightly packed race as they come through the first half. You see the coaches on bicycles watching the race progress just over their shoulders. CRI then falling back a little bit. Chicago starting to make a push, and I'd say PNRA Mercer as well.
Yeah, so Chicago, it did look controlled. Now they're finding some momentum as we come into the third 500. It might be a slight lead for Mercer over Chicago. We'll see the times come through, but everybody has gotten closer. Early it was CRI with kind of a pretty good lead. I think it was like, almost a second, 0.8. And now look how close it is up front. All of these boats, every single boat in your picture right now, resetting at 1,000 meters, they all have a chance to make an A final here in the men's Youth 8. And that's what we hope for when these boats line up. It's
Wow.
PNRA Mercer out in front, though.
Wow, an incredible race here unfolding. Yes, there's the PNRA Mercer. Chicago's done a nice job of kicking it up just before the 1,000-meter mark to put themselves just past CRI and over bow number 3 as well. That is Row, New Jersey. It's 3 to advance, as we know. Currently, PNRA Mercer, Chicago Fry putting themselves in a position to do that. Will it be Row, New Jersey? Will CRI find another gear? Of course, there's Sarasota and Cincinnati Juniors on the far side, or closest to us rather, out of lane 5 and 6 as well. And a nice push from Sarasota, David.
Everybody's connected. Yes, Sarasota's starting to find some speed. They're obviously very familiar with the race course. They practice out here. I watched them last Saturday practice. It's going to come down to it. This is tremendous. Look at the lead right now. The lead for PNRA Mercer is maybe 10 feet. Second place right now, I'm gonna give to Chicago, just barely, over Row, New Jersey. CRI is still there. Sarasota Crew is starting to push up. Maybe they're in 4th place now. Going with Sarasota Crew is Cincinnati Juniors. Your early leader, CRI, maybe they're even in 6th place now, but they're still connected with 4 of the boats ahead of them. Here we go. This one's coming right down to it. It's going to be a sub-6 time, super fast time. There are going to be some disappointed crews. The only thing that we know is it's about a half a length lead for that gold boat of PNRA Mercer. Here comes Sarasota. Wow, what a big last 700 meters for Sarasota. Maybe they're sitting in 2nd place, just slightly ahead of Row, New Jersey.
And coming then down, it's PNRA Mercer and the yellow boat just holding on to that lead. They've done a nice job to push themselves up with about a half-length advantage over the field. But yes, Row, New Jersey, Chicago, and now Sarasota. Sarasota really making a threat for that 3rd place position. If you're Row, New Jersey or Chicago, you need to watch out for Sarasota. Row, New Jersey and Chicago still holding those qualifying spots, but the buoys are red. It's 2:50 to go.
Yeah, you're right. 2nd place continues to be Row, New Jersey, but just barely. Here comes Sarasota. Sarasota is now, I think, ahead of Chicago. But it's going to come. Look at this. Places 2 through 4 up for grabs yet again here at our 2021 U.S. Rowing Youth National Regatta. This is semifinal B of the men's Youth 8. The gold boat out in front. That's PNRA Mercer. How's this thing going to finish? I'm going to tell you what it looks like to my eye. Of course, it's unofficial. It's coming right down to the line. It's PNRA Mercer. They're going to win this semifinal by about 10 feet, unofficially ahead of the boat just adjacent to them, Row, New Jersey, and photo finish between Sarasota Crew and Chicago. I do not know between the two of them which one is going to move through. I'm going to tell you, on the time, it's definitely separated by 1/10 of a second or less between those two, and it was probably whoever was in the water pushing the bow just slightly ahead of the other. Cincinnati Juniors finishing there just ahead of the boat from CRI. What a race.
So PNRA Mercer for sure. Row, New Jersey then running 2nd to join the A final.
And the suspense.
And Sarasota Crew to take 3rd, local favorite to take 3rd and join the A final with Greenwich, Prep, Newport, Row, New Jersey, PNRA Mercer, and Sarasota. The locals will be thrilled.
Yeah, everything's unofficial, but that's what it looked like coming through. And so the next race on the race course will be the Women's Youth 8, semifinal A, 6 boats across, same progression, looking for the top 3. You have your time trial winner in lane 4 is Greenwich. They won the time trial yesterday by 2 seconds over the rest of the field. Also in the field in lane 1 is St. Andrew out of Georgia. Lane 2 is Rose City out of Portland, Oregon. Lane 3 is Mount St. Joseph. Lane 4 is the aforementioned Greenwich crew. Lane 5 is Saugatuck. And in lane 6, closest to the camera on this shot, is the boat from Princeton National Rowing Association, Mercer. Here we go. Women's Youth 8.
3 to progress to the A final. So much on the line. Of course, Saugatuck, a powerhouse program, especially in the women's sweep. Coach Gordon Getzinger, a great coach with a good program. So I think we'll keep an eye on them. Greenwich as well, Mount St. Joseph. All of these crews, really, we've seen a great result from PNRA, Mercer, across the full program in different boat categories, including the men's Youth 8 that we just saw conclude. So we'll have a sense of margins then as the camera gets a little bit closer. But as we can see now, lanes 3 and 4, that is Mount St. Joseph and Greenwich, quick start for these crews. SA on the far side out of lane 1 as well.
So we've seen St. Andrew in lane 1 have fast starts, kind of all their boat class entries that we've seen so far. And we're seeing it again. It's the black and gold of St. Andrew up there in lane 1. They're right there with these two crews, Mount St. Joseph in the purple boat and Greenwich crew in the blue boat. Everybody in the picture still, though. The only boat that you don't see is the boat from Mercer in lane 6. But as you get the overhead picture, you see that Mercer is still connected, certainly with Saugatuck and probably also with the boat from Rose City. So everybody is still there. As they come through 500, we start to see some split times, maybe trying to move out a little bit as a boat from Greenwich, and they are out ahead of St. Andrew and Mount St. Joseph. But we've got a lot of race left. As you see the times come through, you see just how close it is yet again. Places 2 through 5 here, separated by a second and a half, Colleen, at 500 meters.
Yeah, really nice first half of the race for Greenwich. You can see them with the lead, leading Mount St. Joe's by about not quite a length, but a little bit over 3/4 of a length, and just surging. Good power out of that shell. On their way, I'd say, to break into open water over lanes 3 and lane 1. Those are our leaders: Greenwich, Mount St. Joseph, then SA on the far side, and a beautiful aerial shot here as they come through. 3 to advance to the A final. First half of the race, a little bit spread out here, I'd say, but anything can change in the second half.
So it's essentially dead level between Rose City and Saugatuck, and that's kind of what I have my eye on at the moment, because are they going to be able to pace each other into the purple boat of Mount St. Joseph and that black boat in the screen with the bow card one of St. Andrew? It looks to me like there could be some momentum out of those two if they kind of latch on to one another, and you're starting to see the speed come out of Saugatuck in lane 5. Saugatuck, a lengthy history in the last 10 years in the women's Youth 8, many gold medals and trophies in this event at this regatta. But right now, this race is really being dominated by Greenwich. They have open water.
Yeah, nice shot here as they move through. Just a long, powerful stroke. You can see the puddles clearing the shell. They have a good rhythm going on. It's Greenwich at about 35, 36 strokes per minute. And now St. Andrews overtaking Mount St. Joseph. So St. Andrews running second, Mount St. Joseph's running third. The question is then Saugatuck and, yes, Rose City as well, David, because they have posted very, very similar times just behind them. But they'll need to up the ante here as they come in to the final stretch of the race to put themselves in a third place position. It's still Greenwich running first. They have indeed broken into clear water several strokes ago. You can see them leading the pack. Then it's back to St. Anthony's with Mount St. Joseph running second. You see Rose City's bow, that number 2, just peeking out. We can't quite see Saugatuck in this picture, but no doubt, as we can see with the aerial shot, there's a battle between those two crews. Is there enough time as they close in on the last quarter?
So Mount St. Joseph hanging on to second place just barely. They're the only Scholastic crew in this semifinal, meaning that they're the only crew that has all women from the same high school. Everybody else is a club team here, so they're made up of athletes from the area, but not the same high schools necessarily. And you've got that Scholastic crew hanging tough here. Mount St. Joseph in the purple boat on the picture. They've got a deck on those other boats, but you called it right. Here comes Rose City from Portland, Oregon in lane 2. They're starting to find their speed. It might be Saugatuck right there with Mount St. Joseph. Those three are pulling away a little bit from St. Andrew in lane 1. Yet again, we have a race here. 3 boats for 2 spots behind our leader Greenwich as they come through 500 meters to go of our 2,000 meter race course in the women's Youth 8.
That's right. If Greenwich wasn't in the picture, then Mount St. Joseph's, Rose City, and Saugatuck would be having that race amongst themselves for those 3 qualifying positions. But of course, Greenwich is out and away, so it really is coming down to the wire between Mount St. Joe's, Rose City, and Saugatuck. St. Andrew's starting to fall a little bit back of the pack. Saugatuck on the charge.
So at 500 meters to go is a second separating these 4 boats in your picture right now. Maybe St. Andrew fell back a little bit, but I'm starting to see some momentum from them. This is going to, again, come right down to the line. We had a photo finish in the previous race to figure out who moved through to our A final. It looks like we're going to have that again here. The only thing yet again that we know is our leader. Our leader is Greenwich. They're in the blue boat. You got 4 boats. They're all connected. You got St. Andrew in lane 1. You have Rose City in lane 2. You got Mount St. Joseph in lane 3. And in lane 5, you have Saugatuck. They're all there in the picture. Who's going to move through to the A final?
And a really nice hold, I'd say, from Mount St. Joseph and Rose City. Can Saugatuck advance? They're now coming through those final 250 meters. It'll take something special. No doubt, of course. Here comes Greenwich to lead, but ever so tight. Mount St. Joseph, Rose City look like they're gunning for those second and third place positions. Just 10, 15 strokes left. We'll see what Saugatuck can do.
Oh, right down to the line. Greenwich, they're going to win it by half a length of open water. It's going to be a photo finish here. Photo finish between Rose City and Mount St. Joseph for second and third. Unofficially, looks like those two will get ahead of Saugatuck at the finish line. Saugatuck maybe 4 feet behind those other 2. And then coming across the line unofficially in 5th place is St. Andrew in lane 1 ahead of PNRA Mercer in lane 6. You're going to see the times come through. Basically, that was dead level between Rose City and Mount St. Joseph, but it does look like they both unofficially will move through to the A final just ahead of Heartbreak for Saugatuck. So that was semifinal A of the women's Youth 8. The next semifinal will be semifinal B, and we'll figure out who will join Greenwich, Mount St. Joseph, and Rose City in that A final on Sunday. And they're on the race course. In lane 1 is Cincinnati Juniors. Lane 2 is Marin. Lane 3 is Chicago. Lane 4, CRI. Lane 5, Row America Rye. And in lane 6 is Newport.
And a nice shot of the overhead view. It's a quick start for Newport out of lane 1. Row America Rye. A little bit further back, CRI, Chicago, then Marin, Cincinnati. So 2 front runners, Newport, Row America, Chicago with a nice start as well. Marin not to be left out.
Pushing right now in lane 5, maybe taking a power move. Row America Rye just put themselves in front of the early leader, which was Newport. Still so early in the race as they come through 500 meters, and we see exactly where they stand. Look how close it is in lanes 5 and 6. And again, qualifying through a time trial, it's not exactly always what we expect to see. You see that your top qualifier technically for this semifinal is the boat in lane 4 from CRI, and you can see that they're currently sitting in 5th place, but less than 2 seconds behind your leader. So It's just so close early. And is anybody going to make sort of a devastating move here to get a huge lead? Right now, your leader is the boat from Row America Rye in lane 5. And we saw just how dominant they were in the straight 4s with 2 boats side by side, finishing and moving through to the A final. Can they get their 8 in as well? Obviously, a very strong, very deep program from Row America Rye. And they're sitting on about a 4-seat advantage on current second place Chicago.
Yeah, Row America Rye moving up at about 37 strokes per minute or so. You can start to see them walk away from the rest of the field, but it is worth noting that Chicago is going with them, right? So we can see these 2 crews start to break away from the rest of the field. They're both on the move. Row America Rye still with the advantage.
Lane 2, Marin looks like they're slightly in 3rd place, and then it's too close to call right now, to my eye, between CRI and the boat from Newport. So everybody, again, still in the mix. Maybe the only boat that's dropped off the pace at all is Cincinnati Juniors. Everyone else is still there. You're seeing those 5 boats in the picture. The only one you don't see is lane 1 Cincinnati Juniors. You still have a lead out front. You can see on the left side of the screen is lane 5 Row America Rye, and that lead is really dwindling. To my eye, at one point it was nearly a half a length, but coming through 1,000 meters, you're going to see the time, and it's only going to be, 0.6 seconds ahead of Chicago. Marin sitting there in 3rd place. 0.2 ahead of CRI.
Yeah, such tight racing here as they move into the second half of the race. Row America Rye started strong. Remember, we saw them very quick off the starting block and in the first 500 meters. They're holding that, but Chicago, man, in the middle of the race, Chicago really found some power. You can see they're just stepping into the stroke and keeping themselves right with Row America Rye. CRI, the red shell, lane 4, trying to keep their bow in it as well. Marin advantage over CRI, so CRI running 4th. It's Marin running 3rd. Row America Rye, Chicago's on the move. Chicago is still moving. They started moving, and inch by inch they continue to move. Row America Rye is holding them. I think the question is, does Marin keep that advantage over CRI?
Wow, they keep coming. These unbelievable races that we have seen in here semifinals day at our 2021 U.S. Rowing Youth National Regatta. Right now, it's Row America Rye out in front. I have them going 38 strokes a minute, Colleen, and they were higher than Chicago. When you started talking about Chicago moving, they were doing it at 36. Is that going to come into play as they approach the last 500 meters and you start to see the red boat from CRI start to find a charge? You're seeing Marin on the top of the screen in the black boat with the red blades. They are starting to find speed. 4 boats here for 3 spots in our A final. Oh, man, it's going to come down to it. Last 500 meters, here we go.
Yeah, Row America Rye will need to hold onto their position. Again, a good start, a strong body of the race, but Chicago is charging. Row America Rye holding that position. Chicago right on their heels, and Marin holding the 3rd place position. CRI at this point in the game, we've talked about coxswain calls, right? The coxswain is calling it up. She's calling for more power, doing everything that she possibly can to get her crew to advance. Row America Rye is holding it. Chicago's running 2nd. Will it be Marin to hold on to 3rd or CRI to take it?
I don't know. They're dead level, Colleen. They were separated by, I think, 0.2 at 500 to go. Those 2 boats, and both CRI and Marin maybe even showing slightly more speed now than Chicago. Does Chicago have another gear with the strike rate? All 3 of these boats may be trying to track down Row America Rye. This is unbelievable. I can't believe we're watching this at 1750. Just how close it is here. These crews from all over the country here at our 2021 U.S. Rowing Youth National Regatta. It's semifinal B of the Women's Youth 8. It's up for grabs. One of these teams is going to be sorely disappointed.
Row America Rye holding their own. They want to keep that 1st place position. CRI, though, charging. Chicago right behind them. Marin doing everything they can not to be left out. There's 4 boats, though, and there's 3 spots. Row America Rye holding it. What a press from CRI over the last few hundred meters. An incredible sight here as they come down. Can Marin do it?
Oh my. Maybe Marin dropping back. Maybe it's those other 3 out in front. It's going to be Row America Rye, I think, is going to hang on and go start to finish. They are out of lane 5. Row America Rye is going to win by a deck, unofficially ahead of CRI. And then the boat from Chicago will finish about a half a length ahead of Marin as we see Newport cross the finish line ahead of Cincinnati Juniors. Just another crazy close race. I couldn't believe what I was seeing at 1750. Unbelievable. And these 3 boats decided to just move away a little bit. So it's Row America Rye, CRI, and Chicago unofficially that will move through to the A final.